All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are doing a this week's fights because we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Ulberg versus Reyes. We will be taking a look at last week's Contender series as well, doing a review of that. And to do all of that with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Ohio player, and my co-host, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, it's Monday and we didn't have fights on Saturday. Like, what in the world is going on? Like, this is just not what I like to see. But what's the deal with that? Why do we even get a week off in the first place?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, every once in a while, a week off is probably okay. But what we have come to find out is that the new schedule on Paramount Plus, when the UFC moves over to that service, is going to be a little bit lighter. So we're going to have a couple more weeks where we will have off weeks. A couple of weeks with no fights from the UFC.
Well, the reason I question it is because we normally get weeks off when there's American holidays. So we get like the 4th of July and Memorial Day, I think, is when we get weeks off. So this one was kind of just interesting because this could have just been a week off at the end of the year. Just throw it in December.
If I had to guess, I'd probably say that it was because it was right after Noche slash Canelo Crawford. That would be my gut instinct. They had a big event with the boxing. They had Noche, whatever, not necessarily a huge event, but still, two things at once for the boss man Dana White. He probably was like, let's calm it down a little bit after that.
So I actually need to bring it up because we are a sports network, and I think it is part of TKO. So we
Yes.
do need to bring it up. But
All right.
WrestlePalooza did have its introduction to ESPN, WWE,
Sure.
uh, and it was not great. So I just wanted to say that, and then I wanted your opinion on what you think of what does that mean for ESPN? Why wasn't it that great? Like, what's
Well,
the
I mean,
deal?
I guess that's the question is A, why was it not that great? B, I guess to answer the question before you get into the details of that is, I mean, certainly not a good thing for their first outing on ESPN to not be great. But, I don't know if when it comes to wrestling, I feel like they can get away even with that dynamic, even with their first event not being that great on a new service, they can kind of get away with it because they've got such a steadfast fan base, a loyal fan base that it might be like one of those things that the community might meme on a little bit, but they're going to just watch the next one too. I mean, they're not going to not watch again.
Yeah, and I'm actually not going to get into it, but I
Uh,
just wanted to throw that out there, as a part of the TKO and the ESPN, dramas that we've been having. I mean, to see that once they lost the UFC and then they basically got a fumbled, project from the WWE, kind of funny. I mean, I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, kudos to them, whatever.
Yeah, no, and in the grander scheme of things, you pair that with I guess the Paramount deal remains to be seen, but you pair that with the Canelo Crawford. I just wonder if Canelo Crawford did what they were hoping it was going to do for TKO. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I would suspect that it was pretty well watched, but I had seen kind of conflicting reports as to what the actual viewership was. I think that Paul Tyson probably did a great deal better numbers than that. Um, yeah, based on at least what I was seeing. So it's like, are all of these ventures and all of these different things? We got the White House card coming up in a little while as well. Like, are all of these big moves doing what the organization wants them to do for them? I guess is the question.
Yeah, I mean, but if you think about it, they are, they do house the two biggest talked about entities when it comes to mixed martial arts and then when it comes to pro wrestling. So they're really doing everything right because we can't stop talking about them,
Of
not
course.
necessarily us, but.
Sure. No, yeah. I mean, and that's kind of goes back to my point with the WWE anyway. It's like, yeah, whether or not it's a massive success or a, somewhat floundering outing, it's still, it's all within the umbrella of the two biggest players in the game. So what are you going to do? Right.
I actually think a good question, just because we're going to have a little extra time here, is other than the White House, now that we're going to see the White House, presumably, actually somebody posted a tweet, saying they're not going to believe this idea because Fight Island never became something. That was just also, they had pictures and shit of that. I even saw the graphic. I'm like, damn, that does look pretty cool, don't it? But
Well, I
never,
mean, we
never
got
came to
Fight
fruition.
Island. I mean, they did the fights in Yaz Island or whatever, but it never became like an actual island, an island. It was just at a place that was away.
Yeah. So there's that. But other than the White House,
Mhm.
is there another country or region is like we gotta have? I mean, you have the Coliseum, could be something else as another idea, but
Oh, interesting question. I guess I never thought about it. I mean, well, yeah, I guess if you really want to go into more like conceivable, realistic things, they have to do Spain at some point for
well, I
Ilya.
mean,
They were talking about that.
maybe not even just the fighting in the venue, but how they want to do the Lincoln Memorial weigh-ins or like the ceremonial weigh-ins at the Lincoln Memorial. Think of things like that. Like,
Mm.
we could get, you know, such and such in front of, such and such thing. I don't know,
I'll
but
tell you my answer then, if that's how we're looking at it. Great Wall of China.
mhm,
That would, I think,
nice.
be kind of a cool one. Just do it somewhere on the wall. I mean, I don't know how, again, logistically, I don't know how you do that. You maybe have like raised rafter stands next to the wall on either side or something, but that would be kind of neat. I guess, yeah. I mean, any kind of like major landmark, right? I mean, some cool things
I mean, but
could
you
happen.
say that, but like, yo, they're not the Lincoln Memorial is what like the UFC is thinking like this is the place that can house something that's going on for the White House. It's kind of I don't know. It's got to
Yeah.
be. I'm not saying the Lincoln Memorial is something crazy, but like in their eyes, that's what they deem big enough. It's not like they're going to the Grand Canyon and like, all right, we're doing the face-offs here, guys. Like I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's got to be within the same realm of the White House if that's the whole theme of everything.
I mean, they all got castles and stuff,
Well,
and
so then there
big
you go.
old
How about that?
monuments.
The Scottish Highlands. You
Yeah,
can
see,
do
there
it.
you go. I mean, I think a lot of people out there have good ideas for it, and I think that we just need to hear them. I don't know they exist yet, but I know they're out there. We got a lot of art based on a lot of different regions. Go ahead.
Fights on a flotilla going over Niagara Falls.
Nice,
I
nice.
mean, I'm thinking this is I'm a genius. What can I say?
Actually, I do think a fairy sort of fight situation is possible. That would be really cool if it just like floated around New York, like.
That would have to be one very, very calm water body that they are on, because if that thing, or just yeah, there you go. Maybe that adds an element to it, like any kind of rough seas. The guys are shifting on the mat
I
while
mean,
they're on the
or
ocean.
an not an oil rig, but like in the sea, it's an oil rig. Something they
Deep,
drill
deep,
for.
deep sea drilling.
Yeah, yo, go get a fight on that, bro. That would be cool.
Right on. Well, I guess if any of that comes to fruition, we'll talk about it here on this show.
No, absolutely.
Well, so yes, as you had mentioned, there were no UFC fights last weekend. However, I was determined. I said, I'm going to find fights. I had the feeling, I wanted to be on stream. I enjoy doing it so much. I said, I'm going to find something to watch. And I had posted a little bit about it. Did you see my issues with our friends over at KSW?
I did not, but I was hearing a little rumbling that something was going on, and I was thinking, ooh, this might be video worthy for Yama here. This might be good.
Yeah, I mean, I got everything I wanted to say out on the stream, so I don't know if I didn't necessarily need to put it all out into a separate video. But the abridged version of what happened here is that KSW had an event on Saturday that they on their website said started at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time, local here. 7:00 p.m. local time. It was 1900 hours, which is 7:00. That's the 24-hour global time there, military time. So I said, okay, that's perfect. I got home early enough for it. I was getting everything set up. I come to find out after I had already paid for the pay-per-view, which was definitely affordable, $13 for a pay-per-view. I'm like, absolutely perfect. I said, I am going to give money to KSW. Well, we watched them on the Cage television series. I wanted to support KSW. So I said, $13, you got it. I'm all in. I come to find out that the event had started at 1:00 in the afternoon. Timer on the website was just erroneous.
I wait. Okay, so this adds an extra element. You didn't tell me this before. So okay, so one, you paid for ticket or not tickets, but you paid for this event,
I certainly did.
and it had a lock or something on it. Like, how did the website show you that you weren't able to watch it up until you were?
Oh no, well, I mean, you just had to you entered all of your information and then you got access to it. It like popped up a new window after you already paid, but it didn't tell you that the event was already on. It just said that the timer on the main website was just going. Like it had nothing to do with the pay-per-view portion of things.
Maybe the timer was counting down the event time.
See, it could have been that too. I tried to rack my brain to think of all of the things that it could have been, but that doesn't make sense either because the event was way over before the end of the timer.
I mean, this is an interesting situation. What sucks is that like you were so dedicated to watch this. I mean, you told KSW to their face like I'm going to watch your event. I paid money to take my money and I'm
Exactly.
going to watch it, and they still just did not want that to happen. I don't know how the miscalculation happened here because listen, first you got BKFC getting hit by a tornado, and then now you got this right here. I mean, this is ridiculous.
As I said on the stream, no good deed goes unpunished in mixed martial arts outside of the UFC when it comes to Yama for some reason. I don't get it. You're right. This is the second time in a row this has happened to me. So, yeah, I don't know. To be fair, the reason I brought it up, aside from that element of it, was I have to say, and again, really in context, I wanted to watch KSW based on us having seen it on the cage. I was like, it looked like a good promotion, at least in the representation there, and it was. The card was very good. I thought they had a lot of finishes. I think it was
How was the
nine.
pacing?
Pacing was great. You would have loved the pacing.
Nice.
It was really nicely boom, boom, boom. I think it was 9 fights in 5.5 hours. So really
Oh,
can't beat that. It moved, like everything worked pretty well. They did have like some beginning and end filler, like, so yeah,
mhm.
there was a little bit of that
No
letting people.
concerts, no podcast in
No
between.
concerts, no podcasts. Exactly. No, it was really nicely streamlined, and you could also get the commentary in English or in Polish, which was really cool. They did English announcing as well. The production quality was all really good. I enjoyed the KSW product. I would have really enjoyed it if I was able to watch it live.
What day did you say this was on? Friday,
This
Saturday?
was on Saturday.
Okay, I didn't know what days that they had their events. This does seem like something that I might, dip my toe into one of these days. KSW $13. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm out here, but $13
That's
sounds like a good time.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, for that for BKFC, the same thing. I think BKFC was like 10 or something like that. Like, this is, for these other promotions that I want to watch and that we have the time to watch when there's no UFC, especially now, as we'd said at the start of the stream, that if they're going down to 44 events, and we got 52 weeks in the year, then there's opportunity for other things, and I'm happy to spread it around a little bit for that amount of money. That's what pay-per-views should be if you want people to actually pay for them.
I'll tell everybody right now because I got on. I had my big boy smart pants on, and I bought Paramount for a year when they had their big discount for 50% off. I just want to say, when Black Friday comes, everybody hold out on your Paramount subscription right now. Black Friday is going to come around. You're going to be 2 months early, but who cares? Who cares? You're going to pay for the entire year for half the price. You're going to get UFC for 9 months of the year, and then when it comes back around, you already be at Black Friday again. Just get it again. Just, it's going to be easy for you. Just listen to me now. Do not buy a month to month subscription of $7.99 because you're going to end up paying way more in the long run. Just cash out, buy it one time, $30 Black Friday, call it done. There you
I
go.
like it. Yeah, you're gonna get UFC and a whole lot of nothing else, but I'll save that for the potential video I might do on that one, because that I also did the same thing that you did, and I was taking a little bit of a peek around in their catalog, their library there, and yeah.
I actually want to bring it up. So when I got the Paramount subscription, I obviously was telling Thinker like this is what I was doing. I got it for $30, and Thinker had some skepticism along with some other people in the Discord. Am I actually getting the UFC for $30 for the whole year? And so Thinker, went on their website, decided to get on there with a chat agent, and he asked the question: Is this subscription going to bring the UFC? And as he was doing that, I had this great idea to just talk out my ass. I don't know if you guys know I do this. And I said, that chat agent ain't going to tell you shit. He has no clue. Even if he did, dude, they're under contract. Why would they say anything? Knowing I have no idea what I'm talking about. I have no clue. I don't even know how contracts work. I've never even seen one. And the chat agent just responds like, I don't even know. I can't tell. I don't know UFC.
That is
Like no fucking
100%
clue.
accurate.
Like
Yeah, that was really funny. Yeah, I was trying to get to the bottom of it for everybody. I'm the research guy over here. I like to dig in and find out the information, but there was no information to be found, especially not from the chat agent. So
yeah.
hopefully we're getting the UFC. I mean, hopefully we did the right thing here because again, there is really no. Well, like I said, I'll save it for the video. But in short, there is very little reason to get Paramount Plus aside from the UFC for myself personally. At least.
Yeah, I definitely, and I'm going to say it publicly right now, just to make a point, because this is what you got to do to these corporations. You got to screw with the numbers. If January 1st comes and that Paramount subscription don't have me Josh Van on demand, brother, canceled, never.
Yeah, for
Like you're
real.
done.
Sailing the seven seas at that point, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, so we'll see what the deal is there, but little excursions into outside organizations and our now foray into Paramount Plus. Keep you posted, I guess.
yeah, hell yeah, into the void.
Indeed. Well, why don't we go into some fights here? Well, let's start off with last week on the Contender Series. This was week 6 of the Contender Series. This is a pretty decent one, yeah.
It was definitely decent. I caught this one, and we did get to stream it. And I was actually. Oh, wait a minute. Oh God.
All
Okay.
right. Well, let's get into it then. There were some highlights and a couple of lowlights as well. We'll start off with the first fight of the evening from this card. This is Rafael Uchegbu versus Cody Kovanchek, I believe is how his name is pronounced.
Yeah, this one. Poof. Gosh, you got the English guy, and then so in the Discord, I don't know if you guys know, we got a lot of English chaps. So when they go for an English guy, you obviously have a little skepticism. But clearly, I mean, a Canadian. Come on, we know better by now. These guys are not necessarily out here wheeling and dealing. Boy, was I wrong. But I wasn't actually, betting on what was it, Uchegbu? Yeah, I wasn't high on him. When I saw him, I'm like, this dude. First off, he talks exactly like Patty. I don't know if you guys noticed, he's a Scouse. So
That was
hilarious.
I wanted to tell you. I don't think I had mentioned this to you off stream. I caught a little of your stream. I put it on at some point later in the evening, and I heard you talking about this guy, and some of the stuff was pretty funny because yeah, the voice does not necessarily match the appearance 100%. He's a darker dude, but he has a super Scouse accent that was very very pronounced.
Yeah, no. So that was definitely pretty funny. But I mean, other than not wanting to like him for a lot of different reasons in this fight, getting finished by a Canadian, I mean, it's just not a great look. I can't really. I'm trying to think. God, this was so long ago. I should have rewatched these, but like this one specifically right here, I can tell you I wasn't going to. So
Yeah, no. Well, what I remember from this one, and same for me. I mean, I wasn't able to go back and rewatch these. It's hard for me to find time to go back for the Contender Series. But this one, I do remember that there was a cage grab that ended up being pretty significant in the course of things because what happened was that Kovanchek basically, I think, stopped a takedown with a cage grab and then used it to parlay it into some elbows to the side of the head that certainly were impactful and ended up being, a detriment to Chegbu here. So that was not in the round where the finish was in the beginning of the third round. That I believe was in the first. I want to say it might have been in the second, but
okay.
either way, it was a pretty bad thing to happen and a bad look for the referee.
You're fucking cooking. So yeah, no, this was actually hilarious. Oh my gosh, this was so fucking funny because one, he grabbed the cage, and in my opinion, I mean, any cage grab obviously is gonna like if you're pulling on the cage, it's literally changing the momentum of what you're
Right.
doing. It's not like you're just pull. It's not like you're just having fun with it. It's like if you have your fingers laced and you get pulled, you're literally pulling the cage. Anyway, so yes, he was definitely cheating and changing the position. Didn't get called for it, no big deal. But the way that he landed the elbow after it, it was like a gunshot. Like he just went boom,
Yeah.
and then he just falls. Like and like you literally thought this dude was dead. So shout out to Uchegbu for actually like eating it. I mean, the dude he might have got that elbow off either way. Like, was he would he have got taken down because of the cage grab? Maybe, maybe not. But like the way that he ate this elbow and like almost fucking died, it was, dude. I can't tell you how crazy it looked. But anyway, so yeah, he did fight through that. Shout out him. Was the first round, and then ends up getting finished in the third round. I mean, so what can you say? I mean, if he didn't get finished in the first round, he certainly did get it in the third. And if he would have got finished in the first, we would have been talking about it way less. That's all I'm saying. So
Yeah, well, I mean, my issue with it was just that it was a course altering cage grab. That's the
I
problem,
agree.
because it's like, because we'll talk about another one of these where there was fence grabbing going on multiple times and a point was eventually taken. But this time it was, this was an issue that actually did really highly impact this fight. But the ref didn't call the cage grab, didn't take the point. Like you said, I mean, the finish would have negated it anyway, so I guess it wouldn't have mattered. But still, it was just, on the Contender series where this is the first impression that you're getting of these fighters, at least for me, for the way that I do the Contender series, like, and a lot of people, if you're not following on the regional circuit, this is the first time you're seeing a lot of these guys. It did not give me a good first impression of Kovanchek.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily sold on it. If he was, I don't know. I mean, he did finish him, but Uchegbu was not great.
That's
So
true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's the other point as well, is that it's unfortunate that it happened with this specific fighter because it probably was trending that way anyway. So if it had been a more competitive opponent, then maybe the dynamics would have been different.
the last thing that I'll say about him is I don't know if you heard in this little promo. He trains with one of the best, UFC talents, is what he said. And coming from, as being a Scouser, you're obviously thinking he trains with Patty. No big deal. He trains with Darren Till.
Yes, 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 that is true. He is a Darren Till training partner, and one of the, since there are only two there, I mean, one of the best is still accurate.
Exactly. One of two of the best. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
certainly getting knockouts in boxing. So shout out to Darren Till.
heck yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one here. This is In Su Huang versus Patty McQuarrie. Just a weird fight, man. Not a great one. Not weird in a good way.
Well, the problem is that Patty McCory was on The Ultimate Fighter.
Correct.
We did get to see him lose to Robert Valentine, who is now terrible in the UFC.
Also correct.
Excuse me. So the fact that I had hope in Patty McCory, it was not warranted at all. I mean, this dude should not have had the hype that I did, but he went back to Cage Warriors and he was actually winning fights and getting finishes. So the thought process was a little valid. It's not like, oh, he's just been on the regionals can crushing. It's like, okay, he went on the Ultimate Fighters fighting now UFC talent. He was fighting him before they got there, kind of deal. Even though they suck, I mean, it still is more experience than somebody who's literally 8-2, whatever you want to say. But this fight here, what can you even say? Like, these dudes are terrible. Like,
Yeah. Both really all around, it was pretty amazing. Now, going into this one specifically, I think that my brain just over the years it kind of has gotten little mushy because I watched the entire Ultimate Fighter season and did not remember Patty McQuarrie in the slightest. So I have no clue why. It completely went out of my brain. What I was saying on the watch along was I was like, I remember there being some talk about this guy because he was a Cage Warriors guy and had been winning in Cage Warriors. I thought that he was like a newer prospect that had been like really setting Cage Warriors on fire, and this is now his UFC shot. But no, you're right. He was on The Ultimate Fighter, went back to Cage Warriors, had his stuff going on over there, was getting some wins. I guess also had like a political thing that he did at Cage Warriors that got a little bit of attention. Whatever. The point is that like I completely blanked on all of those aspects until chat reminded me. So I was like, oh, okay, well, shit. Now I'm getting a little nervous here because it's like if the guy we just saw Chapolin, the guy goes on The Ultimate Fighter, doesn't do so well, comes back. It's like, I mean, really, is this the caliber that you're looking for? Luckily, he was fighting In Su Huang, who basically for at least the first round, if not the first round and a half, just did not it didn't look like he was trying to fight at all. He was very stiff. He wasn't throwing. I mean, it was a lot of movement for not a lot of action.
I normally gauge people in this sport. If they have a lot of tattoos, that means they've been getting fight bonuses.
Yeah.
This guy here, he must just come from money because he just is not getting bonuses. I don't see it.
Yeah, if you're just listening, In Su Huang has a full like almost a t-shirt's worth of tattoos, his entire
That's
torso.
actually a great, yeah. It actually would go exactly underneath a t-shirt, and like maybe that's the thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen that. Yeah, I'm not implying this about him, but I've seen like Yakuza people with that amount of tattoos before. He's Korean, so that'd be a different country, of course. But just for reference, that's the amount of tattoos that he has. But yeah, certainly doesn't fight like somebody with that would, the tattoos would signal.
Yeah, no, this guy here. I mean, they just hand fought the entire time. They didn't really do anything. They traded jabs that weren't very powerful. Nobody really tried to initiate the grappling too much. It says Patty had a takedown with a minute and 2 minutes of control time. I couldn't tell you that was true. I mean, they just stood in across from each other for 15 minutes, and it was horrible.
Yeah, I think they're counting cage clinching in that control because there was a little bit of that. There was a lot of strafe movement and circling and all that kind of stuff. But man, I mean, there just was not anything of real value here. McQuarrie ends up winning the fight by decision, but he didn't end up getting a contract based on this. And I think that it was completely warranted because this was a very lackluster fight.
I think we need to start doing a couple different things on the Contender Series. We need to start tweaking the rules. If the Ultimate Fighter could have a 2 round system where third is if only if we really want to see it kind of deal, if it's warranted, that's what the Contender Series need to implement. Also, I don't know if you guys know, we'll talk about it again. Lethwei, Myanmar's native sport, it is finish or draw. That's what we need to implement in this shit. You guys need to go out here and fucking die for this shit. Like seriously, I'm tired of it.
I
Like
mean, yeah, yeah. I don't know if I agree 10,000%, but you're not too far off base. At least with the second part, I do like that idea because really breaking that part down. I mean, this is a pro fight. Like this is on their record as a professional fight. So it's like, I don't necessarily think that the 2 round thing makes sense for that part of it, but. I mean, going in there and having it be a draw at the end of it, if no one finishes the fight, then I mean that's certainly an incentive.
at worst, you get one draw on your record because you went to the Contender Series and you fought like a little fucking chump. So, I mean that.
Yeah, well, whatever the case may be, I mean, this certainly was not it, and no contract awarded.
Um, yeah, but I mean, and actually, now that I think about it, it's like even if the system that I just said was good, like the draw, if you have a war, like boom, those two dudes still get contracts because Dana chooses all he's got here.
Well, that's why
And
you got to have the regular system.
no, 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 no. Fuck it. Hear me out. Hear me out. If it does end in a, if it's a war, we don't get a finish and it's close. Obviously, we have a different scoring system if that's what it comes to. I mean, Dana still chooses, but I still think it's pretty decent of an idea because then neither of those dudes take a loss. That's the worst part is when you get a war, it's like, well, somebody does have to lose, but they both fucking fought awesome kind of deal. It was close, but if they get a draw, I mean, and they both get a contract, contender series tryout was a win. I don't know what to tell you. I like that.
Well, you take it right up to Andy Foster and the commission, and you tell him that is what needs to happen.
I got to take it to somebody. So
Hey, all right, fair enough. Moving on here. Before we do that, shout out to Didgery Dave, shout out to Tosh, and shout out to Michael. Thank you guys for checking in. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us for the show.
hell yeah.
All right, next up is Tommy Gant versus Adam Livingston. Now, let me tell you something here. I generally, I always say I don't come into the Contender Series knowing anything about these fighters, so I'm getting a complete fresh slate first impression about these guys, right? Adam Livingston really made a negative impression on me from the beginning of this thing. He was talking a very slick amount of game in his promo packages. A lot of times I'm chatting through it. I don't even really listen to him. I tried to listen a little bit more because of something that you said, Chase. You were like, this is not only their first impression in the cage fighting, but it's also their first impression on the mic. And I'm like, I need to consider that more a little bit. I'm getting bits and pieces, but I should probably pay a little bit closer attention to some of that other stuff too, in case it plays a factor. Well, here it certainly did, because Livingston was very, very cocky. Came into this fight not fighting great, and then grabbing the cage multiple times. This is the fight where he ended up getting a point deduction for cage grabs. So all of this massive amount of game that he was talking coming into this thing as a New Jersey guy was completely unfounded. And shout out to Tommy Gant on the other side, coming in here like a cool customer, really seemed like a decent guy, very well spoken and like I said, decent human being, and comes in here and manhandles him. So I loved this performance from Tommy Gant, and Adam Livingston really, he was on the shit list for that one.
Dude, this Tommy Gant guy, I want you to listen to this because this is honestly pretty nuts. So in 2024, this guy fought July 20th, okay? July 27th, okay? August 3rd, August 10th, September 7th, October 19th, November 11th.
What?
Yes, this dude fought consecutive weeks like 4 times in a row.
Gee, was it like a tournament thing or?
No, this is like different promotions too. Like he was just fucking. I mean, this
Wow.
dude, and that was like going into the fight when people said like he was just like can crushing. He won like 10 fights in a row, like back to back to back to back. Like he was just like dominating these random scrubs. But like here's another random scrub that he just dominated. So, I mean, what can you say? This dude's a Chad. So
He certainly did do that, because I mean he was pretty impressive with his grappling. He ended up getting a submission win here, and he was really working him over. I mean, it was a nice display of some pretty high level grappling. I mean, high level comparatively relative to the competition, of course, but I thought that he conducted himself pretty well in the cage. Got the sub. I was pretty happy with the performance.
yeah, it was a good one. It was definitely a good one. The thing that just stands out is like you were talking about, like Tommy Gant came in cool, composed, and another day at the office type of deal. And like when you look at somebody who's fought 9 times in a year, kind of deal. I mean, he really is just kind of about this fight shit. I think like I do kind of like this dude, like an unsung hero. I believe because nobody's really gonna know anything about that. Nobody really takes that into consideration. Like when you're a casual, like I was at one point, and you look at the records, the dates don't fucking matter. I don't care if it was October 12th, 2024 or November 2nd, 2022. It doesn't matter. But when you actually break it down and you understand, like he has to be ready and fight shape ready for these consecutive amount of times and not take damage and be willing to continue to go, like it's pretty fucking impressive. This dude's kind of a Chad. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unsung at one time, but now perhaps about to be sung with getting a contract here. Be interesting to see what he does in the UFC. Going to be interesting to see if he tries to be that active. Maybe give Kevin Holland a run for his money.
yeah, 100%.
So yeah, shout out to Tommy Gant and Livingston. See ya.
Hell yeah.
Kind of how I felt about that. Moving on to the next one here was the name alone definitely made me laugh, even though he seemed like a pretty decent guy. This is Muhammad Ali versus Ivo Baranuski, or
Yeah.
Barashevsky, I believe is how they pronounced it. But
So
Polish name.
Muhammad Ali, his promo, it is funny, but like I don't know if I'm supposed to like take him serious or not because he gets on there and he's like, as you know, my name's Muhammad Ali. My dad was a real big fan of him, so he named me after Muhammad Ali. And he's like, I'm born to do this. This is what my family wanted me to do. Like, it's in my name, it's in my blood. I'm gonna be just like Muhammad Ali. And then gets in here and gets slept in 20 seconds. Like, am I? This is serious right now. Like, you give anybody a microphone, apparently. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But 4-0 is hilarious. But like, I don't know. Ewo, this dude's name is actually crazier now that Ewo is nuts. But dude, he's a fucking Chad. This dude's a fucking beast. Polish power literally exists, and I don't get it, but hey, they are some beasts over there. And at light heavyweight, this dude. These are another set of guys. I mean, 20 seconds. Obviously, we can't tell, but these are more like heavyweights more than light heavyweights.
Yeah.
But he might be able. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I'm down for it.
Yeah,
So.
they were definitely both big light heavyweights in build. Baranchevsky. I was going through that same thing with the KSW card with the names, and they had some Polish power on there as well. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely Polish power in this world, and these guys are showing it. He certainly did his thing, but yeah, it was funny because one of the commentators even said that with a name like Muhammad Ali, you better go out there and put on a show, and he did not, sadly, but seemed like a good enough guy, so I felt kind of bad for him. But hey, this is the fight game; it is what it
I
is.
I wish we would have got Dean Thomas to say that. Like with a name like Muhammad Ali, you got to go out there and do something with it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he
for
would have
sure.
been great.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that he also would have had some choice words for after that fight because
Yeah, true.
Dean's been coming out of pocket a lot lately, it seems.
Yeah, no, I think. By the way, when you say out of pocket, I think I know what you're talking about. That clip with Uncle Live and Dakota.
I
I
mean, there
think
was that one, yeah,
that's
that,
an
and then
older one. I think people have
okay.
come out to say that that was a very old, but
Yeah, I'm sure
I
that
agree with
that
what you're
makes
saying.
yeah, that makes sense that it would be, but also him with Sean Strickland. I mean, he had a lot of stuff. It was odd how much he had to say about Sean Strickland after the Dricus fight. Like he specifically like kind of went out of his way. Like he was on Ariel. Like he went to Ariel Helwani to talk shit. I was just like, what? Geez, where is this version of Dean Thomas coming from? It was just odd.
Yeah, and Dean Thomas, he coaches people like currently still,
Oh sure,
like
yeah,
right now. Yeah.
he'll corner people when I think
Okay.
was
Okay.
it Sam Hughes one of his. I think I don't.
You might be cooking there. You
Yeah, I
might be
would say
cooking.
don't quote me on that one, but I mean I think that he will be he is an active coach.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, it was just
then
strange.
so um yeah. Either way, I think this fight was just 20 seconds of nothing. Muhammad Ali is a goofball, and if you ever see him, just know that he's not it.
Yeah,
So.
and also if you didn't see his name spelled out, it's not spelled the same as Muhammad Ali, so it's like Muhammad Ali wish version.
It's kind of crazy because if he goes out here and he gets the 20-second knockout, it's like he kind of has aura because his name is Muhammad Ali, but it's spelled different. Like it's spelled kind of cooler. If you think about him getting a first round knockout, it's like, damn, his name is spelled cool as shit. It's like if he gets knocked out in 20 seconds, it's like that's a stupid way to fucking spell your name. You dumb. Like what are you doing? Like fuck, let's spell it like the boxer, dude. Like
Yeah,
so.
fair. Yeah, but either way, I guess we're not going to be seeing much more of Muhammad Ali anymore.
Nah,
We'll
probably
we'll
not.
see. I don't know. He might come back. Who knows? But
Yeah.
either way, good win for Baron Shevsky.
So
Yeah.
before we get into this next fight, I want to interject and I want to say so last week during the podcast, I don't
Mhm.
know if you saw somebody had commented Hater Sosa, and I wanted to bring it up. Like
Mhm.
I was going to be like, "Oh, that's a dude on Contender Series." Like, but I didn't want to like pinpoint one comment and then obviously we're talking about Contender Series, this week.
Right.
But that was at the time we didn't know any of the situation when that guy commented and we get off, the podcast for that night, we find out that Mr. Sosa's father, had passed away like or that day or the morning of, whatever the case may be. So I wanted to say like to whoever was in our chat, like they were on it. They wanted us to know, and I'm sorry we didn't get to you and we didn't understand what was happening. But yeah, so the circumstances going into this fight, go ahead and list them out. I just wanted to
Oh,
say that we heard them first.
sure, absolutely, yes, most definitely, and thank you to that person for stopping in. But yeah, this is Maxon Lee versus Hetcher Sosa, and Sosa. Not only that person, but a lot of support from Spain. He is from España, so during the watch along for this episode of the Contender Series, I had a lot of Spaniards in the chat, and they were all very supportive of Sosa. In fact, actually, a little other point that I wasn't going to bring up, but it reminded me now. He fights in WOWFC, which is a Spanish mixed martial arts promotion out there that is co-owned by Ilia Taporia. And production on that is actually pretty good as well. I saw a little bit of it. One of the people in the chat was like, "Hey, you should watch some of the fights from over there." And I took a little bit of a look at one of them before the card started. And I was like, "This is pretty good." So yeah, shout out to WoW FC.
I think the only thing because the fight itself here, there's not really much to take away. I mean, he dominated him, but the real takeaway is what I was feeling towards the situation after learning, about his father and then, him proceeding to go on with the fight. There's a couple different things that I'm thinking. Like one, Dana would have been okay if you didn't go on with the fight. Like he obviously gets, things happen. Like, kid, if go home, be with the family, your dad just passed away. Like obviously that could have been an option. He didn't take that option. Whether he felt that was an option or whether he felt like, oh, the show must go on or I'm doing this for my dad, we don't know. Um, I think dominating performance or not, I think it was also hard to just gauge what he was actually capable of because we're all looking at it from a lens now. Like he's gonna have to get the contract either way, because if not, that's really fucked up. Like he could have the shittest performance, and Dana's gonna be like, you showed heart here, kid. You're gonna have to. We're gonna have you. He was gonna get it either way. I think is an unfortunate thought process that I have going, into the fight and after it. Like he could have lost, and Dana would have given it to him. I think.
Nah, I don't think so. I think to
He
that, I
gave him
think that
another chance, bare
it,
minimum.
bingo, exactly. It would have been like, yeah, we appreciate that you stepped up even with the circumstances. We'll give you one more shot. Again, the same that they did with the dude from last week with the light heavyweight guy that's going to come back in week 10. He'd be back in week 10 too. Week 10 can just be the week for everybody who had weird circumstances earlier in the season.
Yeah,
But
I
regardless, he fought though, and as you had kind of we're going over with that, yeah, his father passed away on the day of the weigh-ins for this, so it was mere hours before he was fighting, and I think he had said that he's going to take his father with him into the cage in spirit, and he certainly put on a show in that regard. I mean, it was the fight was it wasn't fireworks necessarily, but it was very dominant. So he definitely went out there and performed, and he did a good job.
I'm not trying to, talk about old shit already, but we didn't actually bring it up on the day of, and I only thought about it because I watched it in like a replay or whatever. Cedricus Dumas's coach, the guy who was actually going through some cancer treatments as well. I
Yes.
don't know if they said he was done with his treatments or something like that, but they did make a point to bring him up. And I just wanted to say, speaking of, shout out to him. That just, I don't know why I thought about him in this situation, just talking about, passing away and things like that. Like that dude's battling, and Cedricus Dumas got an inspiring person next to him, and he's just like, again, the biggest piece of shit ever. I just wanted to
Yeah, no,
say,
I couldn't agree more. And as somebody who went through some pretty prolonged medical stuff, where it was like ongoing things that you're having to like try to have a normal life, but also still dealing with medical things, like I know, and like trust mine were not as bad as some of the things that these people are dealing with. I know that it's a very difficult thing to be able to continue on in a normal capacity. So anybody, especially in a combat sports environment like that, shout out to everybody who's struggling like that and making it work. It's very admirable.
yeah, for sure. So Sosa, I do hope that he's gonna have a decent career. I mean, it's an inspiring story for sure when you look back, but when you watch the fight itself, I mean, if we're gonna be honest, call spade a spade. I mean,
Yeah.
this was not a Contender Series performance that gets you a contract in any other day, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen dominating performances, but it's not about, bro, it's about wowing the crowd. It's not about having people sit there like he's fucking doing it. He's doing it. Like,
Yeah.
you have it's the same thing with Hamzat and Dricus. It's like you watched 5 rounds knowing exactly what Hamzat was able and capable to do, and he did it every single time. But there was no excitement to it. It takes two to tango. It's a dance. You gotta have the give and take kind of deal. So
Yeah, and I think that was kind of what I was going to be getting at as well, is that like it's unfortunate with this fight specifically because Lee, he was probably finishable. I mean, like maybe not. He definitely took some shots. I mean, Lee was first of all, Lee is it was brought up in the watch along chat. He is a very skinny dude. Like he is kind of like emaciated looking, like skeletal, one might say. And he's a grappler. So I mean, like Hetcher was kind of coming in with a little bit of an edge. If he was able to evade the grappling, he could definitely bomb him with shots and stuff like that. Lee did take some good shots, so maybe he's just got a really good chin. I don't know, but like it felt like if Hetcher had been able to take it up like 2 notches more than what he was doing in the striking department, especially later in the fight after Lee was already taking a good amount of damage and still just kind of going through it and everything. Like because Hetcher ended up having a good amount of control as well. I mean, like you see, like Hetcher had all the control as far as the numbers go,
right.
and a lot of it. So it's like
Yeah, I remember mostly him laying on top of him for a little bit.
yeah, and it was Lee trying to go for like like leg locks and things. He was trying to kind of get fancy with the grappling, and not much success there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that like I don't know how much of it was the circumstances, how much of it is his natural talent, and all of those kinds of things. I'm sure that there's a combination of all of those factors, but a little bit extra probably would have been able to get the highlight that would have made Hetcher Sosa a little bit more of like a wow factor. Obviously everything is as it is, so we're gonna have to see how he does in the UFC, but solid performance, decent quality of performance, all things considered. As far as the Contender Series go, yeah, maybe a little bit lacking.
And I mean, I guess none of the contracts really surprised me. I think everybody got one that should have, and everybody didn't that shouldn't have. I mean, I didn't actually stick around to listen to Dana. I really hope he ripped into Patty McCory, but I could be wrong.
Nah, he didn't. I mean, he just kind of said, it wasn't really what I was looking for, kind of thing. And he doesn't really like dig into too many people. I mean, the only time that I can really think of like a person that he really like laid into was that dude that ended up going over to the PFL and having a pretty decent, successful career over there. His name is escaping me, but I've seen him fight in the PFL and he's done pretty
Well,
okay
I
over
mean,
there.
not rip
But
into him, but like in week one, he got on there and said, "Look, this is not what this is not what we're here for. I mean, if you're gonna come out here, cancel the flight." Like that was real, you know.
yeah, well, I mean, I think that was because it was consistently poor throughout a couple of those fights. I mean, it was a pretty dull event overall. But yeah, no, I mean, Hetcher gets a contract, Baranchevsky gets a contract, Gant gets a contract, McQuarrie does not get a contract, and Kovanchek is the one that I thought did not deserve a contract, but he got one as well. So
Yeah. So
yeah. So there you go. I mean, that is week 6 of the Contender Series. I thought it was pretty decent overall. Like I said, a couple of weird little instances here and there that maybe weren't up to Chuck, but still, we'll come back tomorrow for week 7 and do it all again.
hell yeah, we will.
All right. Moving on to the fights of this weekend. This is UFC Fight Night, Ulberg versus Reyes. This is taking place in Perth, Australia at the RAC Arena. What do you think of this fight on paper, sir?
Oh, we want to do this fight first?
Well, I know. I'm sorry. This card, rather.
This card. Okay. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So this card on paper stinks. This is six.
Kind of set you up for that one, but this is not great.
I mean, we're going to go through it, but half the people I can't even get a good gauge on if they got aura or not because they're just a blank picture. I mean, this is 17 fights or something where I don't even know 12 of them. I don't know. This is pretty nuts. But to start out with this is a banger first fight. But either
Sure.
way,
And just to finish the thought, what I will say about this on paper is that the UFC, when they go to Australia, they do a good job of hometown representation. So I believe what this card is, especially as a fight night, is hopefully going to be an exhibition of some new talent coming in from Australia. A couple of people you probably know from Australia. A lot of hometown heroes kind of thing.
hear me out. And
Yes.
I actually thought, shout out North in the Discord because he brought up a great point. And I actually think now that I sit on it a little more and stew, it's like this is so valid. The big premier fighters from Australia, they don't want to have their check cut by them taxes out there. That's why you get these cards full of fucking bums. And they got to be 16 fights is because they're not going to get Volk. They're not going to get JDM. They're not going to get any of the other big name people that will fight for a belt inside their country because they're going to get all their money taken away from them. But
Is that a thing? Is the tax really high on the fighters out there? Or
I
not?
I remember thinking that, but Norv kind of confirmed it to me by him having the same opinion about it. Like I think that is a big thing that they have some tax rates out there that are kind of fucking them over.
No, I'd have to look into that. That's actually an interesting element of it if that's the case.
But I think
But
that's valid. I mean, there's no wonder they have to get extra fights and they have to do it on the US Times and they have to do it, without all the big name people and and pay people on debuts that you've never heard of.
it could be. I mean, also the travel obviously is very, it's extensive if they're making them leave Australia. It's on the other side of the planet, of course, too.
Gotcha. I know traveling is so hard in the UFC. People are just terrible at getting around in this sport.
Yeah, I mean, they are going to like Qatar and all these other places as well,
I,
right?
I
So
mean, they're on planes every fucking day. Like, I don't know.
yeah, no, I know. It's true. I mean, I guess you want to give the hometown crowd, hometown people. That certainly makes sense. So, but I don't know.
But
You
in
say
any
about
other
the tax
case, you
rate.
want to give the hometown people the stars, like you want to give the hometown people the hometown stars.
Well,
But in,
but
in,
the,
in
but
the
the
case of Australia, we'll just give them hometown bums,
But the
like
problem there, though, is that their big stars are big stars. That's the thing. Is that like when the pool is larger, you get a lot of people that are more like if they had a larger pool of talent, then you'd have more of a range. But you have like the cream of the crop at the top, and then a lot of people that are not even sort of circling that just
there's
yet.
no difference between 4 of the fights that we're about to go over than 4 of the fights in Dan Hooker's backyard. Like, that's like, there's literally no difference. It's like they're people we've never heard of. They're probably not necessarily in fighting professional shape because they haven't even been through the ringer. Look at the dude right above 4-1.
Well,
Are we for real?
look. I got the details here. I'm going to go over it, and I'm going to change your mind with some of the details that I got. How about that?
I'm excited.
All right. Well, and let's get into it. Shout
Okay.
out to Sigma. Was talking about you a little bit earlier, Sigma, with some of the stuff we were talking about the Contender series. We already went over that, so you can go back and watch the VOD for our coverage of Week 6.
Hell yeah.
Starting off this card, though, here, UFC Fight Night, Ulberg versus Reyes, the first fight of the evening now, anyway, since they changed the order of the bouts. It is Luma Lukbunmi versus Alexia Thayonara. This is a women's strawweight fight. Lukbunmi is 10-3. She is 4-1 in her last 5. Her wins are unanimous decision wins over Estela Nunes and Bruna Brazil. She got a sub win over Elise Reed and another unanimous decision win over Denise Gomes. Her loss was to Lupi Godinez, and that was a unanimous decision in that fight. She's kind of a decision merchant in general. 8 of her 10 wins were by decision. On the Thayonara side, she is 12-1, 1-0 in the UFC after a UD win on the Contender series. She has a sub win over Molly McCann. Lots of subs on her resume. She has 8 of them to be exact.
This fight it's unfortunately, it's interesting to me because I understand that what I've seen with Luke Boonmi has been very progressive. She came in as a very stagnant striker, and in her last fight, she was able to showcase that she has wrestling and grappling, and that she's willing to learn new things. Coming from Thailand, the only Thai fighter that we have in the promotion right now, she's obviously got a lot on her shoulders. She has to. She can't be a Muay Thai girl because people know, like, oh, if I'm fighting a Thai person, I'll just train Muay Thai. I just know how to defend Thai stuff. She has to be more than just that. And she also, again, she has to be ready to evolve her game. And I think what I saw in her last fight was her evolving her game. Unfortunately, she's 5'1", which is crazy to look at right here. Like, this is nuts. That's so tiny. Andrade is 5'2". I like that. So this girl's tiny. So that's always going to be going against her. And then Alexa Thayonara, as we already said, she's a fucking finisher. This girl's kind of a Chad. So Loma, I really do love you, and I think the game is progressing. This is just a very dangerous fight for what you're wanting to achieve in this career. And I know we talk about, same with Diego Lopez with Sadiq Youssef. That's the main example that I can think of. That's a scary matchup. That's like, you fuck up, you're gonna lose bad type of deal, and you're gonna lose all the momentum. Now Loma has no momentum right now, but if she fucks up, she's gonna lose bad, and she ain't gonna have shit. Now if she comes out here and beats Alexa Thayonara, oh, she's good, she's golden. I know she's cooking if she comes out here and beats Thayonara. Like, fuck.
Yeah, no, well, you're certainly correct that she has made improvements, and this would be a pretty big win on her on her record, her resume, because Thayonara is coming off of the early sub of Molly McCann. Obviously, Molly was a big name, no longer in the UFC, indeed, but still, I mean, she was a lot was riding on Molly McCann for an entire country of people, and for Thayonara to come out there, not only to style on Molly, but come out there and have the amount of energy that she had. She was really a presence. You remember she was dancing her way to the ring. She was, she's doing finger guns out there to the crowd. I mean, she really was like kind of putting on a show before the show, and then the fight was a show as well. So I mean, like, she really kind of did a lot to get her name kind of buzzing in that one performance. Now, it was just one performance, but as we said, I mean, a lot of her resume is going to be submissions. Luma may have made some improvements on the ground, but I just don't think that it's going to be enough to overcome the pre-built amount of skill that Thayonara is going to be bringing to this fight. So Luma's going to have a big hill to climb here, and I'm just a little bit skeptical that she's going to be able to achieve that.
This one's just not going to go to Luke Boonmi, and I hate to say it.
Yeah, exactly. Same. I want to believe that if Thayonara tries to keep it on the feet for some reason, then of course Luke Boonmi will have some success there. Maybe if she's able to come out early and aggressive, I say that a lot, but it remains one of the most important elements of a fight, in my opinion. Coming out wanting to win the fight from the very start of the thing, she might be able to get some striking that gets Thayanara off of her game, but I just feel like Thayanara has a confidence that she's just going to be able to flow with it. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
going to rattle her, and I certainly don't think that she's going to be necessarily intimidated by Luke Boonmi, who she has 3 inches on, as well, as you'd mentioned. So it's kind of a tough spot for Luke Boonmi, and it sucks because she is doing a lot better. She has made improvements fight over fight, but this is going to be a really big challenge, and I think that Thayanara is just starting out on what will eventually be a pretty decent career.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. She's going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, and I mean, and another one of those things where it's like fight over fight. If you continue to build a little bit of a cult of personality with being a bit of a personality yourself, then the name value, the recognition, the narrative, as we say, kind of starts writing itself. Thayanara is early in writing her narrative, and I think that a win like this, it plays into the next phase of that process as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and we'll see how that one goes. All right. So this fight here, this is two if you're not watching, this is 2 gray images here. No pictures for either of these people, but I will tell you why. Okay. This is Brando Perisic versus Alicia Ellison. This is a heavyweight fight. These are both male fighters. I remember us on our last episode saying we didn't even know what sex these individuals were, but they are both men, and it is a heavyweight fight. Perisic is 4-1. This is his UFC debut. He has 3 wins by knockout, 1 by sub. His loss was by sub. He's a kill or be killed guy. He has a 100% finish rate. Ellison, 5-1. Also his UFC debut. Also, well, not also, but 4 wins by knockout. So a lot of knockouts. 1 sub. So also 1 sub. His loss was also by sub. Kill or be killed, also 100% finish rate. So this is a very even fight on paper. You got a dude with 3 knockouts, a dude with 4 knockouts. Both have a sub, both have lost by sub, and both have 100% finish rate.
This one, the fact that it's heavyweight, and we got 2 dudes that we couldn't even tell if they were gender specific. Like it's
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen here? You would think that it's going to be a finish, but we've been likely to get some heavyweight decisions lately, and I don't know what that's been about. But maybe Dalia, maybe he's been the one that's going to turn the tides, and we're going to get a finish here for some random heavyweights.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, I think what
These 2 dudes are definitely, well, at least the one is definitely from Dan Hooker's backyard. If he's a heavyweight, dude, if it's not just like some random bantamweight out of Australia, if it's a heavyweight on this card, 100% out of Dan Hooker's backyard. 100%.
I would probably agree. And yeah, shout out to Dan Hooker for continuing to do the 1-minute fights in the backyard thing that he's doing. He's got his own little incubation system that he's cultivating down there. And it's actually, I mean, I have not watched the most recent one. A shout out to Didgery Dave, who was in the chat earlier. He posted Dan Hooker's most recent bout of that. It wasn't in the backyard this time, but it's the same concept, 1-minute fights. I want to watch that actually. I'm thinking about maybe doing a stream this week of just hanging out and doing kind of a chill stream to watch that. But Dan Hooker is doing the damn thing down there. So you're probably right. I mean, this guy, granted, he does have a pro record. I mean, like I said, 4-1. He's been in actual organizations doing his thing, but he is from Australia. He is a heavyweight. So it is certainly conceivable that he is out of Dan Hooker's backyard.
I'd love to think so.
But what I was going to say, too, is that this is a continuation of what we have been seeing with heavyweight for quite some time now. They're trying their damnedest to get heavyweights from wherever the hell they can. I mean, I guarantee you that if there is a heavyweight lurking in the jungles of, Mongolian jungles that has never seen the light of civilization before, they're trying to find that guy. You know what I mean? So this is what this is, I think. Now, I mean, Ellison is from the United States. Brando Perisic is from Australia. So, I mean, I would think that both of these guys probably have, the accolades to their name. They are both kind of lower in their amount of fights. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is exactly that. It's, we're trying to hopefully find some more talent to fill out this heavyweight division. They're aware, you know what I mean? The organization is absolutely aware that heavyweight is in shambles and has been for, decades now, it feels like. So we'll see. Hopefully we do get a knockout. Hopefully we get some, I would like to see well-rounded mixed martial arts. That's what I want to see out of heavyweight. I want to see people who can grapple as well as strike. I want to see people who have a gas tank. Give me an actual MMA fighter at heavyweight. I'll be a happy guy.
Yeah, you're not going to get that. And I hate to break it to you. I've been asking the same questions. Like, why can't we get, a lot of the basic things that other weight classes have built into their fighters? Why can we not have a sliver of that in heavyweight? Why is it always just run out of gas and throw big slugs? Like, why is it how is there not an evolution to heavyweights where they have gas tanks by now? Like, what, I don't get how there's, such a skill difference between flyweights and heavyweights. Like, they're all fighters. They all could have the same opportunities to learn the same things. They just A don't, or B can't for some reason. Like, I don't know what it necessarily is. If you told them that like they can't, then they'd be like, well, so we can all do the same. It's like, well, you're not necessarily doing the same stuff though.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, I think that what I mean, physiologically at least, I mean, it's the fact that they're carrying so much weight on the frame. Obviously, the gas tank is going to be different, but that goes out the window when you see someone like a Jailton Almeida who's able to be athletic and still be big. So I don't get it either. I mean, I think that shout out to ITP MMA who did a kind of a one of his videos had a little bit of a breakdown on heavyweight, and what his what his theory was, is that if you're as big as these guys, you're going to go play at a different sport where you don't have to get punched in the face. That was
Yeah.
at least what he was saying. So, I mean, is there some legitimacy to that? Perhaps we have seen, guys like Austin Lane who come in from a different sport. Maybe they didn't fare so well in that sport. They come over here and try MMA. We've seen that with Greg Hardy as well. I mean, there's a couple of guys that go the opposite direction, but it's
Waldo
generally
Cortez Acosta.
good point. There you go, Mr. Baseball himself. So yeah, so I mean, like we've seen that version of it. I guess then that maybe it does track. It's like if you have the ability to be a huge guy and use that more effectively, especially
Go
in the
make
night.
millions in the NFL.
Bingo. That's because it literally took the words out of my
Take
mouth.
more brain damage, but
Yeah, wow. That's, I guess, that's a different conversation. But yeah, if you're a huge dude, especially in the United States, yeah, go be a linebacker. It's a lot more money, and you don't have to get punched in the face, as I said. So it's I think that's really what it comes down to. But that is on the promotion. Find the guys.
yeah,
They're out. If you have as many as you have right now, and the sport is bigger than it has ever been, they have to be out there somewhere.
true. I
So,
agree.
or continue to do what you've been doing and poach them from other organizations. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. I'm not advocating for it, but UFC is ruthless. So it's like, go take all the PFL's heavyweights.
Yeah, UFC. I don't know if you're listening, but the PFL have this heavyweight. His name is Alexander Romanov. His nickname King Kong. He's pretty good.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe they can course correct on that one, huh?
All right. All right.
Anyway,
This
yeah,
fight. Yeah. These
let's move on here.
heavyweights. Yeah. Thankfully.
All right. So, well, we'll see what happens with that. It could be, what cards on paper that are not always the best sometimes turn out to be absolute bangers. So hopefully that'll be a good one starting this thing off early. Okay, next fight up here. This will be speaking of PFL. So this is Michelle I think it's Montague. And then Michelle Montague versus Luana Carolina. This is women's bantamweight. Montague is 6-0. This is her UFC debut. She is coming over from PFL. All 6 of her wins are by submission. Carolina, 11-4, 3-2 in her last 5. Her wins are over Lucy Pudilova by unanimous decision, Yulia Stolyarenko by knockout, and Ivana Petrovic by unanimous decision. Her losses are to Joanne Wood by split decision and a knockout over Molly McCann.
What I actually want to say real quick before we get into this is I'll interject and say that when I was watching the one card, or I was watching a rewatch of the one card, and the first fight was a woman from Australia named Kim Tran. She was very fucking good, and it was her debut in one. Here we are with the Australian card. Why couldn't we get her? Huh?
I mean, different promotions are going to be offering different amounts of money. A lot of times, fighters are trying to go to the UFC for the prestige of it, as opposed to the money aspect of it. Sometimes it feels like, especially when you're that early in the game, one might have just been offering more.
Well, and so either way, the reason I wanted to bring her up is I'm curious if this woman trains with her, but I see she's from American Top Team, so she's obviously going to be, cookie cutter, whatever they grow over there. So
Montague is from American Top Team.
Looking at it right now.
Interesting, because she's from New Zealand. So yeah, that's I guess she moved over to ATT.
Everybody trains at ATT. I mean,
True.
it's the greatest gym in the world, says
Of
the
course.
Scottish fighter. So I think this one's interesting. 6 wins, all by submission. Very, very interesting because I'm kind of high on the Australian women, but obviously she's New Zealand and she doesn't train with Kim Tran most likely. But I I would like to believe that she's going to come out here and be the next Jacqueline Amarine and get a submission in her debut. They gave her somebody that she obviously can sub in front of the home crowd. It's gotta be.
That's pretty much what I was going with as well. I mean, Carolina's a middling talent in my opinion. Not somebody that I envision things for going forward. So I would think that this is probably going to try to be a showcase for Montague here. Go out and get it done. I mean, do exactly what your resume would lead us to believe. She is a pretty big favorite in the fight. Obviously, the odds don't matter necessarily, but the belief is there at least from Vegas. So go and live up to what your resume is signaling to us is what I would say, because you can do it against a fighter like Carolina if you are skilled enough.
Heck yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, but we will see, because I mean, as I said, she PFL, all wins there too. We know that fights in other promotions don't equal up to what you get in the UFC, but she has had a bigger platform than somebody who's just coming in straight from the regional. So I guess hopefully that'll also play a little bit of a part.
Right.
All right, moving on here. This is Colby Thickness versus Josias Musasa. This is a bantamweight fight here. Thickness is 7-1, 0-1 in the UFC. His losses to Alexandre Topuria by unanimous decision. He was perfect before that. His wins were via 2 subs, 2 knockouts, and 3 UDs. Musasa is 8-1, 0-1 in the UFC after a split decision win on the Contender Series. His loss was to Carlos Vera by sub. Perfect before that. 7 wins by knockout before the Contender Series.
I'm definitely not putting any stock into Musasa because what was it, Carlos Vera? No, yeah,
Yeah,
Carlos
Carlos
Vera.
Vera, yeah.
He's not that great. He's a capoeira guy, and he literally got a submission on Musasa. And I'm, but in the other way, I mean, Colby lost to the other Taporia guy. I mean, is he really that good? Because the other Taporia guy is like mid at best. I've seen him fight, so I don't know. This one's a tough one because they both kind of suck. But I would actually take Musasa. I think the easy favorite is kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is why this is good matchmaking, is because it's like both guys are sort of not living up to the expectations. I mean, Thickness was coming in as a training partner of Volk. That was his big selling point of why he ended up in the short notice, because that fight with Topuria was short notice.
Mhm.
So people are saying, oh, full camp could be completely different. And if you remember, that fight was very close. I mean, I thought he kind of won that fight personally. If I recall, I'm pretty sure that like if I didn't think that he won that fight, it was very, very, very close.
Unanimous decision, but
I
it's
mean, it
okay.
might have been, but either way, I don't, judges
Right, I
decided,
hear you.
whatever. So I thought that he did pretty good in that fight, especially on short notice as a dude coming in, without a lot of experience under his belt. Musasa, we've seen. I did not feel very strongly about him on the Contender Series.
Yeah,
Obviously,
you just
lost.
said split decision. Like, what the hell? How did he get a contract?
Yeah, bro. I mean, it was because people said it was such a good fight. Dude, I don't understand where this glazing and this cult of personality around Musasa is coming from. Because I'm telling you, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone whenever this guy gets brought up. People were bringing him up in the chat on the watch along on Saturday, saying, "Oh, Musasa is going to be easy money. This is such a slam dunk." I'm like, what are you basing this on? When we saw, if you're going off of his record before the UFC, fine. I get, yeah, he does have a lot of knockouts on there, but who were those people? I mean, this dude, I guess part of it is because he's from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it's like,
Little
maybe
mystique.
perhaps a little bit of that. I mean, African power, developing African countries in the sport. They're trying to do incubators in Africa now. Whatever. I think that all, if you really break it down, is it all goes against him. Africa is still developing in this sport in a lot of ways. I mean, a couple of the guys who who are like the quote unquote African kings of this sport all trained in other places. So I'm just, I don't know. I've not ever really saw anything out of Musasa that has been like, man, that guy is next up, and he's definitely going to win this fight.
Just because I think it'll be funny to hear what you have to say. I don't know if you saw John Jones released his Ancestry.com DNA results on Twitter.
No, I did not. What were the results of that?
It was like 46% Nigerian, and then English was on there too, which was kind of funny. Like,
Well, did the test results pick up any picograms?
It did not pick up any picograms. No, no cocaine showed up on there either, though. So you could tell that he had this, doctored a little bit. But
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he had to have his ancestry results doctored. That's funny. Yeah, no, I did not see that, but okay, great. I guess John Jones doing anything but fighting.
what John Jones doesn't know is that that's the only way that they could get him to actually submit a clean test. They're like, John, Ancestry.com, we're going to get you the results. And then they're like, this is a P test. Don't they normally do something else? They're like, no, John, just get it, submit it. Good.
Well, yeah, we'll give you back those results, and then we're going to get an accurate an accurate makeup of what's actually in that system of yours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. But as far as this fight goes, it's really a toss up because of how even I think that they are. I want to believe that Thickness maybe with full camp has a little bit better of a faring here. I think that he does have decent ground game. If I recall, I think that there was a lot of clinching. He didn't necessarily end up going to the ground a lot in the Topuria fight, if I'm remembering correctly. But I think that if he gets his hands on Musasa, does not give him the range to let him get the striking off that he wants and gasses him out, because that's something I definitely remembered about Musasa in the Contender Series fight, is that towards the end of that fight, he was looking like he was puffing pretty hard. He's kind of a big dude for bantamweight. He's got a lot of muscle on the frame. So I would think that he probably has potential to gas out. So maybe Thickness gets him to the ground, lays on him, controls him on the cage. So there's potential there for that. So if you're going for Musasa, I guess I'll go for Thickness.
I think Thickness is just honestly gonna fight too. I don't know. I feel like he might be just a little too confident that he could take shots from Musasa and then he's just gonna get chinned instantly. Or he's gonna fight too scared. And obviously I'm picking both options here. He's gonna fight too scared and he's just gonna like be way too at a distance for strikes and then he's just gonna shoot from way too far out. I don't know. That's the way that I'm seeing it play out, as one of those.
I could, if we're going with like speculation on that kind of stuff, then one thing that I would think on Musasa's side of things is that after having a split decision to get yourself into the promotion, and B, getting submitted by Carlos Vera. Now, I mean, Carlos Vera is a second time around the sun kind of guy, because he was one of the dudes that was on the Contender or the Ultimate Fighter, excuse me. In the Redemption season. That was the season that I did the full review of, so I'm pretty familiar with Carlos Vera. You're right, he's a capoeira guy, a little bit older. I mean, certainly older, wiser, all that kind of stuff. But you put that into context of Musasa. Now he's split decision to get in, loses to an older guy who is on his second run in the organization. There might be a little bit of a confidence issue going into this fight. I would possibly think.
But that's determining, or that's going to show you if he has a good team around him. I mean, if he comes in with confidence, I mean, they've got him ready to go, that he can be on the top still. One loss is all you needed to be great. Everybody has to take that one loss. Who knows? Or if he comes in here and he looks a little gun shy and he doesn't actually take this dude's head off, I mean, that's going to be unfortunate to see.
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess final answer on this one. You going for Musasa?
Musasa.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Thickness tentatively. This would be the type of fight that Musasa can win, though. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does win this one. But, further say, yeah, I think that there's potential for Thickness as well. So
yeah, 100%.
All right, moving on. Jamie Malarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. Wow, is this a fight? Malarkey is 17-8. He is 2-3 in his last 5. Wins are over John Makdessi and Francisco Prado. His losses are to Muhammad Naimov, Nasrat Hakparast, and Mauricio Hufi. Bro gets knocked out a lot. 5 of 8 losses by a KO TKO. He is fighting Bedoya, who is 14-4, 0-3 in the UFC. Losses to Chaos Williams by split decision, Song Kanan and Jai Herbert by unanimous decision. Lots of decisions on this record for this guy. 7 of 14. He's got a 50% decision win rate.
I actually think you hit it on the hill. Hit the nail on the head. I don't know what I was trying to say. This guy, Rolando, is a decision merchant. Jamie Malarkey is a fan favorite who gets knocked out in every one of his performances. This is a shoe-in for Jamie to get not a split, but a decision win that is going to keep his name relevant in the game. I think this is easy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same. This is a bounce back for real for Malarkey. Like he needs a win real bad at this point. He is a fan favorite. He's a dude who's been around for a long time at this point as well. I honestly I didn't realize how long he'd been around. I mean, he's been in the UFC for quite some time, with a very checkered record. You know, I mean,
Yeah, the fact that you said he's won two in the last five is nuts because I've personally seen his head get destroyed three different times.
when he loses hard. You know, it's one of those kinds of situations. It's an unfortunate deal for him because it's like one of those things where like the wins get overshadowed by the significance of the losses.
Yeah.
So you know, but then you're going up against Bedoya, who has not won in the UFC. I'm amazed that they're even keeping this guy around. They probably are keeping this guy around for exactly this type of fight to, you know, have him be the dude who can prop up a guy who needs a win. He sails off. He's definitely going to get cut if he loses this fight. No two ways about it. There's no way that they're going to have a guy who's 0-4 in the UFC still staying around on the roster.
I mean, unless he, obviously you have to be somebody special if you're going to be 0-4 in the UFC. I mean, Sam Alvey was like 0-9 for, in the UFC
But
before.
he had a lot of wins before that, though. That's the thing. I mean,
Okay.
this guy is 0-3 in the UFC. Period. He does not
Yeah.
have any wins in the organization, so it's kind of crazy that he's even still here to begin with. But like I said, I think they're keeping him around for exactly this type of fight. You know.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you.
So yeah, I think Malarkey is pretty much a shoe-in. I'm amazed that the odds are so close. They got -110s on both sides of this thing, so it's basically a pick 'em. I mean, I don't know where that's coming from, considering that Malarkey, when he's on, he's not bad. Like against an opponent like this, he should be able to go out there and do a pretty good job. I would be saying that it might be a decision. I think he might be able to knock him out, possibly.
I'm not going to go with that.
I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that that's going to happen. I'm saying that the potential is certainly there for this type of opponent. So I'm just surprised that they would have this as a pick 'em. It's just strange to me.
Yeah, Jamie's harmless, but that's okay.
He's had his moments. 17-8 don't come from
See,
nowhere, you know.
listen to what you said. He's had his moments.
Perhaps.
It's gone. It's gone.
Maybe. But I think he can definitely win this one.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so there you go. Jamie Malarkey, get the job done. All right, so this next one is Jonathan McAuliffe versus Oban Elliott. This is at welterweight. McAuliffe, the newcomer, he is 8-1, one win in the UFC after a sub win on the Contender Series. His win is over Kevin Jousset by unanimous decision. Oban Elliott is 12-3. He is 3-1 in the UFC after a majority decision win on the Contender Series. His wins are over Basil Heifetz, Preston Parsons, and Val Woodburn. His loss is to Seok Young Ko.
Yeah, this fight, I mean, I got to ride with Oban again for the same reasons that I took him against Ko on short notice. I mean, he's got way more experience. He knows how to win in this game. He knows how to navigate to the decision. And by the time he is at the decision, he's got a unanimous victory. It's not like he gets in close battles. The fight that he lost against Ko, he got manhandled and lost. That's fine. But most of the time, he's just point striking and he's going to get himself to decision. I mean, Hafez, he destroyed him, sure. But before that, this dude's harmless and he's going back to being harmless.
I mean, it's hard for me to full on agree, only because I feel like McAuliffe is one of those dudes that possibly is still evolving and starting to come into his own. He is winning, and he got the win over Jousset, not necessarily like inspiring a ton of confidence, but unanimous decision nonetheless. Elliott, I've always felt is kind of his head is bigger than his talent. I mean, he has been winning. I guess there is something to be said for being 3-1, and you're not putting a whole lot of stock into the Ko loss. I think that maybe there's some potential for it to be similar to that.
I think he was just that was clearly Oban not being there because like it's not even like he just like didn't have the right game plan. He literally just didn't have a fight to give. And I don't think this one will be similar. Oban, dude, he's normally a fucking Chad. Like you guys are gonna remember. People forget, man. I mean, this guy's he is a Chad when it comes to getting a decision, getting on the mic, and making you forget about the boring performance that he had.
Yeah, Chad decision merchant. Usually not two things that are in the same sentence from you. So
Yeah, but see, it's different because he'll get on the mic again. He'll make you forget about it. He'll say something funny, and you'll be like, "Yeah, that was a good performance, wasn't it?" But
I
it
think
really
I'm
probably
just
wasn't.
Yeah, I think I'm still just a hater from his Contender Series, post fight where he got a majority decision win and was going out there and being like, "I am going to be the greatest fighter in the history of this organization." I'm like, brother, please, you just majority decision.
Yeah,
You know?
when I talked about Tommy Gunn and he got out, in his post fight speech, and he's like, "You're gonna have to fucking kill me in this ring," I kind of respected it. Oban's the other aspect of that. He got out there after a majority draw where he just skated away after doing nothing, basically. Man, you're gonna have to kill me in this fucking ring, man. It's just funny.
It reminds me of the meme of like all the people on the podium and the guy on the bottom is the one with the popping the champagne deal.
Yeah,
Like that's kind of like that. It's like, yeah, dude, all right, we're really really celebrating being mid.
yeah, for sure.
I guess to my point is that like Mikhailov, I don't think we've seen enough to think that he could not get the win here. So I think that's why I'm going. I'm siding a little bit more with him. I think there might be more to him than what we have seen so far. This is a good fight for him to show more if there is more there. So I mean, at least give him the benefit of the doubt based on what we've seen. Up until this point, that this could be a nice platform for him to show a little bit more, spread his wings a little bit more. Maybe he comes out here and puts on a show. And if he's going to doing it against a guy who is usually a decision merchant, that's a great way to do it.
I'm still sticking with Oban on this one.
All right, I thought I'm valid. Well, there you go. Then, as always, if you are listening along out there, we are streaming on our individual channels. You go to the channel of your choice and like the person who you think has the better takes on these.
Hell yeah.
All right, next fight up is Cam Rouston versus Andre Petroski at middleweight. We had said on the last episode of this show, why are they doing our boy Andre Petroski like this, being so far down on the card? But Cam Rouston is a newcomer here. Rouston is 12-3. This is his UFC debut after a win on the Contender Series that was by knockout. He's on a 4-fight win streak, including the Contender Series win with 2 subs, a knockout, and a UD. Last loss was to Torres Finney on the Contender Series, so one of those guys who came back and got a knockout in his second go-around. Petroski is 13-5, 3-2 in his last 5 wins over Rodolfo Vieira, Dylan Budka, and Josh Fremd. His losses are to Edmund Shabazian and Jacob Malkoun by banging his face into Malkoun's hip, if you recall.
Yeah. This one again is the same thing with same story as with Oban. I mean, this is a guy who barely could get into the promotion because he couldn't beat Torres Finney. And he even said in the promotional videos for getting, in his last Contender Series about that he was like frustrated with Torres Finney. Like all he did was hold him down. He just couldn't do anything when he was there. I got up, and I struck a couple times, but then I got taken down. I got up. It's like, if he doesn't think that exact thing is going to happen with Petroski, I just really hope Petroski's ready to just implement a good game plan, which gets him to the ground, gets him out of his element, and not standing with him too much. Petroski is definitely a rangy kickboxer when it comes to standing on the feet. He knows how to point strike, and he knows how to use his grappling as like a backpack kind of deal. Like, if the striking isn't working, okay, then we go wrestle, or we're gonna strike so much that then they're gonna try to wrestle with me, but. I just don't think Cam is going to get this one. Petroski is too seasoned. I mean, he's a vet. This dude's good.
Yeah, 10,000%, 100, like on the money, definitely. I mean, like really, you're nailing all the points.
The only thing that you could say about Petroski is he had that one weird, and when I say fluke, like it literally was fluky what happened with Petroski. I mean, he literally wobbled himself off shooting for a takedown.
So. Oh, the Malkoun that loss. Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I was talking about. Yeah. No. Petroski is like he's got all of the tools. It's really strange to me with Petroski. He's kind of an odd case because he is a very for middleweight, I would say that he's pretty large. He just doesn't seem to have a lot of power in his hands, which kind of doesn't equate to me. I'm like, you're fighting middleweight. You're a big guy to begin with. I don't know where the lack of knockout ability comes from. Granted, he is a wrestler primarily, so the striking is not necessarily his strongest suit, but he does throw, like you're saying. I mean, his kickboxing is not like it's not like he's scared to use it. So if he's not scared to use it, why is it not paired with a power that reflects that? I guess is what's kind of confusing to me. But that being said, I mean, the ability to get people to the ground is definitely one of his stronger suits. And this, I mean, if there's anybody who can be a wet blanket, it is certainly Petrosky. This guy is such a seasoned, lay on top of you kind of guy that, this is definitely going to happen here. I mean, Rouston, like you had said, you're nailing all the points. Like I said, I mean, the fact that Rouston was having such problems with Finney, that he's going to have the exact same problems and worse so with Petrosky, because Petrosky is going to strike before it goes to the ground.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and Petrosky's not only just going to strike before it goes to the ground, he's going to strike when it is on the ground. He's going to wet blanket him, but he's still going to pepper in those shots. Excuse me. He's going to pepper in those shots that is making an uncomfortable situation to an annoying situation. And then you're going to be in if you were frustrated with Torres Finney holding you down and you getting back up, getting held down and pepper shotted in the face, it's going to make you even more frustrated. So I think Andre Petrosky has a really good opportunity to make Cam Rouston um, wrestle the first round, is what I think. Keep the range with the kickboxing early, then we shoot, hold him down, get him frustrated, let him come out in the second round thinking that it's got to stay on the feet and I got to go for it, because if it goes to the ground, we're screwed for another round and then it's done. You know, and then he blows his tank, and then Andre Petrosky obviously skates to another decision or gets a late finish, which I think maybe is possible. Late submission victory for Petrosky is what I'm thinking here. So
Cool. Yeah. I mean,
arm triangle.
yeah, there you go. I mean, something like that is certainly possible. And looking over some of the odds on here, I don't know how close these are going to continue to be as we get closer to the fights, but like a lot of these are really tight odds, and there's probably a good amount of money to be made on some of these on some of these closer fights, because like a fight like this seems like a little bit of a slam dunk as far as like the thought process goes. And I'm looking at it over here as far as the ESPN book goes. Cam Rouston at a plus 130 and Petrosky at a minus 155. I mean, for minus 155, like you parlay that with a couple of different directions, and you've got a nice little leg to your parlay right there.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I think that I think Petrosky is kind of a lock. Maybe Rouston comes out and does something that's extremely unexpected, but I am very doubtful of that.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of him, to be honest. We get a lot of recency bias these days in the Discord, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but anybody, and I mean anybody, it could be. If listen, Joe Schmo comes out here and gets a finish, and everybody acts like this dude's got to be on the next pay per view for their hometown. It's like, yo, this Cam Rouston dude did not impress me that much. Like, I mean, he got his contract and he got a finish, but like, I know we're splitting hairs here, but like, if you really want to impress me, you have to be like top of the top greatness that I'm seeing right now. You can't just be an average finisher. Like, I
And,
don't.
and, and what I'm saying, if you're talking about a finish on the Contender Series, who is he finishing? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you get a great knockout. That's the same point goes for Musasa. It's like, yeah, he's got so many knockouts. Like, great, but who are they? And what does that mean when it's not in the UFC? You're talking about the step up in competition level between Joe Schmo on Contender Series to Andre Petrosky, who's been around for years and years. You don't think Andre Petrosky has taken hard shots before? Come
Yeah.
on. This guy is not coming in here and taking Andre Petrosky's head off, at least not off rip. I mean, if this dude somehow has a war within him, but he didn't have a war with Torres Finney, like, come on, bro. Like, all of the details do not add up with the recency bias, especially if you're judging off the Contender Series. You're judging in the UFC a little bit different, whatever, there's a little bit more wiggle room there. But as far as the Contender Series goes, with new guys coming in, I like, to me, it's always just, this is a second audition on top of the first audition in the Contender Series.
Yeah, for sure. And normally, what we see these days is, and when somebody comes in from the Contender Series, excuse me again, they face somebody who literally just also came off the Contender Series, that got their debut win against somebody who just came off the Contender Series. Like, it's kind of like their second tryout. Like, you're explaining it. That's not what this is for Cam Rouston. This is literally getting fed like somebody who is in a Neil Magny esque position, but with the skill set that's not terrible. So
Yeah, well, Neil Magny also not terrible. I hate this Neil Magny slander that seems to be so prevalent all over the place. I don't appreciate that comparison, but I agree with what you're saying.
yeah, so this one will be good. I'm really excited for Andre because this number's really close. I don't know. I do think it's just recency bias for this line to be this close. Petrosky should be minus 300, I think.
Yeah, I would think something like that would be more appropriate. And honestly, I mean, for Petrosky's sake, I hope he goes out there in styles. I mean, really, like, this is a good opportunity for him to gain the highlights that he has not been getting in his other fights. Because really, I mean, we've seen, I read off the list of names, not necessarily the greatest credentials that he has with the wins. Like, go out there and start actually like doing something of note so that you break yourself out of the category that you're being placed in currently. This is a fine opportunity to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I'm all in on Petrosky on this one.
Nice. Love to see it.
All right, to round out the prelims here, Navajo Sterling versus Hidalgo Bellado at light heavyweight. Sterling is 7-0, 2-0 in the UFC after a knockout win on the Contender Series. His wins are over Tuko Tokos and Ivan Urslan, both by unanimous decision. Bellado is actually an interesting character aside from the thing that you already know about him. Let me break some of this down. Bellado is 12-2-1. He is 1-0-2 in the UFC after a. So wait, how does that work? If he's 1-0-2 and he's 12-2-1. Maybe I have those numbers mixed up there somewhere. But
No, we already said that
oh right,
ESPN
because they don't
doesn't
count it.
count.
Yes,
They
yeah.
don't count
Okay.
them.
Okay, so yeah, so he's 1-0-2 in the UFC after a knockout on the Contender Series. His win is over Ihor Potieria by knockout. He went to a draw with Jimmy Crute and had the no contest with Paul Craig, where he had his acting debut. Aside from his last two, he has been a killer be killed kind of guy. All but one of his fights have been finishes, both either direction. And fun fact, his two actual losses were both to Vitor Petrino by knockout. One was in the UFC, and the other was, or one was on the Contender Series, and the other was in a promotion called Max Fight. So he is also a two-time Contender Series guy who got the contract and has now been in the organization. He has the acting credentials, all of that. Like I said, he's kind of an odd case when it comes to this sport, and a lot of odd backstory. So I've been talking a whole bunch about him. That's it.
Well, I will bring it up one more time because I know people, you weren't around to know that this is the true fact. Rodolfo Bellado fought against Ihor Potieria on short notice, I believe, because Ihor's not a fucking light heavyweight, by the way. So fought him, got absolutely destroyed in the first round. The ref should have stopped the fight, didn't let Bellado actually because this is what's crazy about Bellado is like I've seen this dude literally on the brink of death like come back from a fight, and then the fact that he did that shit with Paul Craig, it's like doesn't even add up. So when I watched him get his ass beat by Ihor Potieria, it has always stuck in my brain that like yeah, he might have won that fight early stoppage in his favor at the end, that Ihor didn't get against him. But Bellado, I mean, if Ihor is able to just fucking dog you out for the first whole round in a weight class that ain't even his, like you are just not great. So
How was I not around? I was around
what?
for that. I don't know. You
No,
said I wasn't around. Oh,
you
you talking when you
probably
were in it.
were, but I mean, you just may not be remembering it.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
it's
There you go.
definitely something that happened that stuck out in my mind. Like, yo, because I had always based Ehor's performances after that on that. I'm like, yo, I watched him just come in off the couch against a light heavyweight and just drop him on his ass. Like he should be something good. But then I watched him lose 4 fucking straight, and then now he's not even in the UFC.
True. Yeah. Well, and then I mean, on Bellado's side, like he's had such an odd run with this recency. I mean, like the no contest with Crute, whatever. But then I mean, excuse me, the draw with Crute. Yeah, I mean, going to draw with Jimmy Crute is like it's like it just seems like it's almost baked into the cake because Crute goes to draw so many times. But then with the Paul Craig situation, very odd. Obviously, we talked through that one pretty extensively on the show and came to the conclusion that was a complete acting performance. So why he decided to do that is very strange. If he has confidence in his abilities and was a killer be killed fighter before that, he's just an
Well, he
odd.
did have herpes.
Well, sometimes I guess that does play a huge factor, doesn't it?
Flare ups.
Yeah, I guess so. But either way, I mean, like it seems like this Bellado character is indeed just that, a character. Now, on the other side of this coin, though, Navajo Sterling has not been entirely impressive after his Contender Series win. He's another one of these guys that got a big knockout on the Contender Series and then went to 2 unanimous decisions in the organization. One of which I saw live. I believe it was the
Tampa.
Yeah, it was definitely the Tampa card, but I forget which one of those fights. I think it was the Tokos fight was in Tampa.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and I've always kind of thought that Tokos was a middling at best talent. They go into unanimous decision to me, or with him to me, is a bad sign. So Sterling's got a long way to go to like build himself up, but this is probably a good guy to build himself up against. So I would think that he goes out there and gets a pretty good performance off. Is it another UD win? Probably will be. I mean, based on what we're seeing.
I'm also not necessarily impressed with Navajo. The only thing that have been, impressive for him has been the hair transplant. But as of right now, I'm not saying that he's the guy that light heavyweight is going to get changed by. He he can't really knock anybody out unless they put their face like right in the fucking punch for him. Like he's too rangy. He's got the city kickboxing style where he stays on the outside and just throws pitter patty kicks and shit. And it's kind of fucking annoying, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He's also another guy who has that weird little tick that he does. He's got the thing where he, I think, touches his nose is his
yeah,
version of that. So I mean, that's just a little detail, but not really a big factor in the fight. Just something to throw in. Um, yeah, it's gonna have to come from Bellato actually trying to engage and make this thing dirty. And if he's going out there and easy way outing himself out of the Paul Craig fight. Paul Craig, who literally retired in the fight after that. Like, I just don't think that Bellato is going to go in there and try to make this like a really gritty fight. So he's probably a good opponent to get pointed from the outside. You know what I mean? Like he's just going to take all of those shots.
think about how mad Paul Craig is because he wanted to retire that night, and he's like, "Fuck, I can't retire on that shit. Now I actually have to do another camp, and I have to go do a whole nother press tour." Like,
How great would it have been if Paul Craig still retired
yeah,
after
he
that?
got on
Like,
the mic. He's like, "Dude, I wanted the fucking war. Like, I wanted something great. I thought this dude was it, but fuck this shit, man."
if
Like,
this is the type of shit I'm going to have to deal with, I'm out of here.
yeah, that would have been good. That would have been
Eh,
epic.
Anyway, well, so yeah, I mean, I think that Sterling is pretty well going to win this fight. Bellato has not shown us anything. I mean, again, 1-0-2 in his last three is, or in the UFC period rather, is just. I mean, that's not a good sign that there are more big things to come from this guy. Sterling, somebody who they're pushing, they want him to be the next face of Australia. Even though he's from New Zealand, that region. I mean, they want him to be a big star of the region, so they're going to continuously trying to build this guy up. I think this is another one of those.
Hate to break it to you, Bellato's actually just going to take him down and get a ground and pound TKO.
Uh,
He's gonna get right into full mount, and he's just gonna do these little pitter patter shots that are gonna finish him.
I counter by saying that Tuco Tokos is the exact guy who was trying to do that, and to Sterling's credit, he rolled with all of that. Like he was able to hold his own on the ground. So
Sure.
good with the defensive wrestling, not necessarily a very offensive guy in that regard. I think he generally is trying to get himself out of those positions just to get back to the striking you were talking about. So it's not like he's going to necessarily turn the tides on the ground and show you something amazing that you haven't seen before down there. But I do think that he is savvy enough to be able to negate some of the stuff that Bellato is going to try to do on the ground.
I'm gonna go with Bellato. I like that one.
All right. Well, I mean, choose your own adventure, I suppose. But I will continue with the mindset that this is another prop up fight for Sterling, and with the credentials that Bellato brings to the table, I think that this is going to be another honestly, probably a pretty boring fight. And I hate to say that because hopefully it'll prove me wrong. But Sterling just has not been very, very exciting.
Yeah,
So.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, he's definitely been a little fucking boring, but
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, just
Little
kind of
decision merchant.
yeah, and because he even said, I remember in Tampa, the arena was not super happy with that fight, and he was on the mic saying, I'm still learning and that kind of stuff, and that's like, okay, I mean, I'll like from the show standpoint, and like as a commentator on the sport, it's like, yes, I give you that credit. You are still learning, you're still growing in the sport, whatever. You got to do that. You got to actually make all of that knowledge put to good use and start being something that the fans want to see. So see if you can do that here.
I definitely agree.
All right. Next one up is Tom Noland versus Charlie Campbell at lightweight. Noland is 9-1, 3-1 in the UFC after a knockout win on the Contender Series. His wins are over Vyacheslav Borshov, Alex Reyes, and Victor Martinez. His loss is to Nicholas Mata. win on the Contender Series was a knockout of Bogdan Grod, who is in the UFC now. So Bogdan Grod, another two-timer there, and
At a weight, think about that. Think about how at a weight that was for Bogdan Grok, because that dude's a 35 or any 45er.
is he? I think
Uh,
maybe you're right. Yeah, that could be. So yeah, maybe Bogdan Grod did a little bit of adjusting to get himself into the right category there. But yeah, so the Nolan has done that. If you recall, Nolan was a pretty big favorite in the past. Not so much on this one, but he is going up against Charlie Campbell, who is 9-2, 2-0 in the UFC after a loss on the Contender Series to the Scottish Chris Duncan. His wins are over Trevor Peek by unanimous decision and Alex Reyes by knockout. I hate that they include grappling matches on pro MMA records. It throws everything off because he has a win outside of the UFC, I believe, in Cage Fury. That is on his pro record for some reason, but it's a grappling match, so it kind of props his numbers up. He's 8-2.
I think this one's going to be a banger. I think this is potential fight of the night, and I think Charlie Campbell as the dog is so fucking nice. You know, when I hear me out is because if you look at the loss that he had on Contender Series against Chris Duncan, from what I understand, he was whooping his ass and then just walked into a meaty fucking hook and just got knocked unconscious. You know, crazier things have happened. But then now he's on a 3-fight win streak. And then Tom Nolan, you know, hopes were high for him with the numbers that they were giving him at first. Minus 1,200 tag for this dude against
Right.
some people. And I've been betting for him a lot because, he is the Australian Jalen Turner. Like, that's exactly what he could live up to be. And that's unfortunately all that I think his ceiling is going to be is Australian Jalen Turner. And Charlie Campbell, I think, as a dog, I think to go ahead and take him to finish this is going to be fire.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you recall in the fight where Nolan was that heavy favorite, he was leaving his face wide open at times. Like I remember mentally noting that, like during the fight, I was like, he is navigating this fight so poorly. He ended up finishing the fight, so I mean, it's like, yeah, I think that was. So I mean, like it's like, yeah, great, you were able to make it work for you, but like how long is always what I think in things like that, in situations like that. It's like, yeah, okay, it worked out in this fight, but like if there are glaring holes in the game that just were not exploited in that fight, the more that you fight, the more that people are going to be watching tape, and B, the more opportunities they're going to have to exploit the things that are your weaknesses. So I think that Nolan just has flaws that have not been fully capitalized upon yet, and Charlie Campbell is the exact type of guy to go in there and capitalize on those flaws.
100%. I definitely like this one. Charlie
Yeah, I do.
Campbell, dog money.
Yeah. Campbell, I've kind of had mixed feelings about Campbell in the past. I think he was a little bit overly cocky in his carrying of himself at times, but he seems to have calmed himself down just a little bit, and I'm okay with that now. So if he's going to come in here and put on a good performance, like go ahead and put on the performance that deserves the celebration that you're going to be putting forth afterwards. I'm okay with it, whatever. Let him have his fun, I guess, but go out there and make it something spectacular, and then it'll be warranted.
Yeah, fight of the night right here.
Could be. Well, what's definitely not going to be fight of the night is this next one. This is Justin Tafa versus Louis Sutherland. This is at heavyweight. Tafa is 7-5. Oy vey. 2-1 in his last 5. His wins are over Austin Lane and Parker Porter. His losses are to Chaos Williams and Taliesin Teixeira. The Williams fight was, of course, at light heavyweight. No contest with Austin Lane is what led to them having a rematch, and that is the one at the end of that record I listed. This is the UFC debut for Sutherland. Excuse me. He is 10-3, 4-1 in his last 5, all in the Levels Fight League. All of his losses are by decision. All but 2 of his wins are by KO/TKO. Never been finished himself.
Oh god, this one. I'm gonna take the Tafa to lose, and Louis gonna win by finish. Yeah, I think he's just gonna TKO him because Justin Tafa cannot make it to decision. Most likely, his body's just has the inability to do that. So
The only reason, and trust me, I do not say this lightly, because I have been of the mindset that I would never bet on either of the Tafas or Tai Tuivasa ever again, because with what we have seen from them not having any ground game, I feel like they just have talking about, we were just in the last fight talking about exploitable holes in the game. They have the most exploitable holes in the game in possibly this entire sport, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That being said, Sutherland is a knockout guy, so there's not going to be any threat on the ground, I would think. Now, I mean, maybe Sutherland, watches tape and goes for a different game plan than what he has done in his previous fights. That is certainly something that has potential. He has not been finished. If it stays on the feet, then I mean, what you're saying could very well happen here. But I think if it just becomes a very sluggy, brawly kind of fight, that's just the two of them rock'em sock'em roboting each other. Tafa getting knocked out, nah, maybe, but like I want to believe that this is another setup to try to get Tafa a win in front of the hometown crowd. Sutherland is coming in from Scotland all the way to Australia. I think that Tafa gets this done by very bad decision, by decision that's very boring, that both of them gas out in the first round, and we just have to sit through rounds 2 and 3.
That's definitely likely. Sadly, that's
Yeah.
probably what's going to happen here.
That's why I was exactly why I set it up the way that I did. I'm like, this is certainly not going to be fight of the night if it goes the way that I'm thinking that it's going to go. Could Sutherland get the knockout? I mean, we did see Taliesin Teixeira knock out Tafa with some great elbows, so he is knockoutable.
Yeah.
He is susceptible to it. Maybe Sutherland comes in here, puts on a show in his debut. That certainly is something that could happen. Again, very close odds on this fight, so maybe Vegas knows something that we don't know. And Sutherland is a slight favorite, so there might be more to the equation based on what I'm seeing on paper. I think that the experience of Tafa gets him to the horn, and it just ends up being, like I said, just boring towards the end.
We got to see what Louis built like, dude. He kind of looks like Hamdi in this picture, so I'm kind of concerned, but I'm gonna go ahead and tentatively take Louis Sutherland.
You're just talking about the very small little icon picture, because he is another dude with
Yes.
a gray body image on ESPN, which is always kind of iffy as to whether you want to back that.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure. All right, before we move on, because I did not do it earlier and very well should have, shout out to Arrogant Savage, shout out to Checkmate MMA, appreciate you, brother, Checkmate Entertainment, and of course, the GOAT Beeb Muff, appreciate you for checking in. Thank you all for hanging out with us for the show.
There's my lunch money, Beeb.
do you owe him?
I owe him my lunch money every single day.
Well, getting shaken down.
I know.
That reminds me of the Bruised, where you should give him 50 cents.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys haven't checked out that video by now, you'll definitely catch that reference if you go watch it. Right.
Absolutely. Keep an eye out for the edited version, which is almost finished. So it should be coming out hopefully this week, if not next week. But I'm trying to get it out before the end of the week.
Hell yeah.
All right, moving on to the next fight of the evening. Here it is. Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny at welterweight. Matthews. Long record on Matthews, too. I always forget that he's been around forever. Matthews is 22-7. He is 4-1 in his last 5. His wins are over Chidi Njokuani, Francisco Prado, Phil Rowe, and Darius Flowers. His loss is to Michael Morales. 9 wins by submission for Jake Matthews. Neil Magny is 30-14. He is 2-3 in his last 5. Wins over Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos and Mike Malott. His losses are to Carlos Prates, Michael Morales, and Ian Machado Gary. He is kill or be killed lately. In his last 4 fights, all have ended in KO, TKO. 2 for him, 2 against him.
This one is pretty funny because, before last fight, you would catch me saying random Aussie Jake Matthews is definitely not going to do shit to Chidi Njokuani. And then he did. And then I ate words on that one, and then I respected it. And now Jake Matthews is that average Aussie Jake Matthews, and he's earned a little respect. He's leveled up, in my opinion. So what that means is Neil Magny, get up out of here. We're definitely come on, Jake. Jake is a veteran. He's good. I believe in him now. So it's good. It's okay.
What I'm going to say is I agree with your take. And it hurts my heart that I agree with your take because I am sick and tired of the disrespect that Neil Magny gets. Look, I know that he is the gatekeeper. I know that he is the dude that cannot beat the upper echelon of this sport. And I get that. And if you look at the names that I just listed here, it's all killers. Carlos
Mhm.
Prates, Michael Morales, and Ian Gary. I mean, that's the pedigree of those losses ages like fine wine. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yes, I understand that. However, Neil Magny is a G, and he deserves the respect of a veteran that has been around here getting 30 wins. He has 30 wins to his name. Now, granted, he has 14 losses to his name as well. So I understand why everybody says the things they say about him. But I don't like that everybody just automatically dogs on this guy when he has the ability to win fights and has done it at times. In this fight, I sadly agree with you. I do think that Jake Matthews is just a little bit stronger. But again, if Magny comes out here and wins this fight, I think that it's going to be one of those things that people are going to be like, oh, damn, Neil Magny does it again. And I'm like, it's your fucking fault. It's your fault for thinking that way.
So what I actually was doing is I made a deal with Beeb that when I got the Paramount subscription for $30, that the other $30 was going to go to him so he can bet on Jake Matthews, and I think it's a very good bet. I think he's going to win big because Jake Matthews is going to finish my boy Neil Magny, sadly.
I think that if he's going to win, it's going to either be possibly by sub, but I think that Magny is too savvy for that. I think it's probably going to be by decision, but I will also take Matthews on that.
He's gonna finish him,
No,
dude.
no fucking way. No way is he finishing Neil Magny. Neil Magny only gets finished by killers, bro. Jake Matthews is not a killer.
If he finishes Neil Magny, you will just level him up to killer Australian Jake Matthews. I just want you to know that.
I, I'll make you this promise. If that happens, I absolutely will do that. And if Jake Matthews has finishing ability anywhere else besides the submissions, then that actually would make him a pretty well-rounded guy. And if that's the case, then a dude with 22-7 record, then to be 23-7, and finishing ability that goes beyond lower level, trash can kind of guys, Jake Matthews might be a little bit of a problem late in the game, and that's something to be looked out for.
Jake Matthews would basically be like Alexander Hernandez is doing right now, is having a little resurgence later on in the career. It's been a little rocky for him. They haven't necessarily been fucking up, but like, it just hasn't come together. But now we're kind of seeing it.
Nailed it. Yeah, the app's so 10,000% correct on that. Yes,
Nice.
absolutely. And what I say about that is that like we talk about progression, we talk about people evolving and getting better. If you can do that, especially in a career that is already 29 fights deep, if you can do that later in the game, to me, that's almost even better than shooting up in a hot shot fashion because now you've seen it all. I mean, how many in 29 fights? You don't think that he's seen all kinds of creative stuff, all kinds of different attack angles and different pressure points and striking abilities and all these things? Everything that you get out of that, if you have learned from it and taken that and parlayed that into a more well-rounded, structured ability and skill set, then I think that is fantastic. So if Jake Matthews comes out here and does that, I'm all aboard.
Killer Australian Jake Matthews for the dub. Let's go ahead and finish this old man.
All right. Well, I'm sticking with I'm going with Beeb on this one. His $30 and my however much I end up putting down, sadly by decision, is what I'm going with as well. But I promise you that I am going to have a secondary parlay that's going to have Neil Magny on it. He will be on the moon shooter because I just feel Neil Magny gets counted out every single fight. Literally, and I'm not even talking about recency here. I'm talking about 4 years ago. Neil Magny still getting counted out in fights, even when he was not 38 years old, when he was still kind of in that sort of spot where there might have been title potential at some point for him or whatever. Like, he was still getting counted out back then, and he was still winning fights, and he was still a dog, and he was getting that dog money. So I'm just saying, don't count out Neil Magny because everybody does. And if you do, that's your own problem.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, but what I will once again be doing is counting out Neil Magny.
Fair enough, Chase. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on here. The next fight up. Why this is so high on the card, I have no clue. They shuffled around the order of this card, and this still ended up high up. I have no idea. But this is Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Tavares. This is at featherweight. Jenkins is 13-4. He is 3-2 in his last fight. His wins are over Herbert Burns, Lal, Jamel Emmers, and Sheamus. What was his first name? I had two. I don't remember.
Yeah, so
I just,
Sheamus had a good run in WWE from about 2014. He's still
yeah.
a current, WWE
Sheamus,
superstar.
not Seamus, but
Oh,
anyway, I just for whatever reason didn't have his first name on there. But yeah. So anyway, Herbert Burns, Jamal Emmers, and Sheamus are his wins. His losses are to Chepe Mariscal and Gabriel Santos. He was hospitalized after his last fight. By the way, the loss to Gabriel Santos, he had a chipped cartilage in his thyroid due to the rear naked choke that he received. By the way, just little fact that was a kind of bizarre and b just something to keep in mind. I mean, I assume that everything's better now, but just something to have in the back of your head there. Tavares is 10-3. He is 3-2 in his last 5. He is 1-1 in the UFC after going 1-1 on the Contender Series. Split decision win over Sergey Side and a unanimous decision loss to Davey Grant. Lost to Side on the Contender Series via a poor stoppage. Second fight was very close, if you recall. His win on the Contender Series was over Cortavius Ramius, who went on to go to a 2-fight losing streak in the UFC after a second chance on the Contender Series himself. What I'm trying to get at here is that Tavares' record is not very strong.
yeah, but what can you say about the opponents that they give him to fight? I mean, yeah, they could be matching him up, and trying to coordinate a better career for him than his skill set maybe tells. But like, he's nobody special. They wouldn't do that to him. They do that to a Bo Nickel. That's not something that they would do to a Roman Tavares. He can only fight the people in front of him. Sirius City is a very good fucking fighter. So the fact that you took him to decision, I I I think it was close, split decision. Either way, it went to Roman because of the blood that he was able to have City wear, but he's just a bleeder. I don't think, oh, and actually Jack Jenkins is a bleeder too. I think he's gonna. I never. You know what? Let's go Roman Tavares, man. It's good dog here. This good dog.
I mean, Ramon Tavares is fighting for his contract. I would say, I mean, he's 1-1, and we have seen, especially at
Why would
feather,
it be fighting for his contract? 1-1.
because the fights that he's won have been super, like you said. I mean, Side, you thought won that fight. He was,
Okay, so 0-2. Okay,
yeah, he was 1-1 on the Contender Series, 1-1 in the organization now. You
I
know what I'm saying?
mean,
I mean, like, look, I like the guy. I mean, I did an entire video. He also, if you recall, he's the one that almost got murdered. He was a victim of a attempted murder by drive-by out there in Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, my home state here. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the Yama channel and watch the video that I did about it. But very tense situation there for him.
all I'm all
I like
I'm
the guy, is what I'm
saying
saying. I
is
just
no. Well, you can like him all you want. I mean, all the people. We have plenty of fights that go on in these guys' careers. If Roman Tavares win or loses this fight and he doesn't get cut, all that I'm saying is next fight we shouldn't be implying. I think he's on the chopping block as well. We they're gonna have careers in the UFC. 1-1 is crazy to say he's gonna be cut after if he loses. In my opinion, we've seen way worse. Like
yeah.
Lucas Dretsky, come on, like that dude's 0-6 in the UFC right
No,
now. Like
yeah, I'll give it to you. I mean, I guess I'm more looking at it cumulatively because I'm factoring in the fact that it was the Contender Series kind of fluky situation, and then having to come back and the second
those
time.
were all growing pains for a young. I mean, he's 31, but he's still in the midst of his career. I mean, you get a fluke stoppage of the Contender Series, they run it back, you get a win, you come back and you beat the dude that you got a stoppage against. They're setting up a trilogy for it, of course. And I mean, up until that point, whether, a win or loss after that point, like that's still a decent little career path for you to go on. That's not like, whoa, get him the fuck out of here. He can't win shit. Let's like,
I guess also the thing is too is that he's another one. I saw him live in Tampa as well. That Davey Grant fight was in Tampa, and I was just not very impressed with his performance in that fight. So I mean, yeah, granted, yes, maybe it's a little bit strong to be saying that he's on the chopping block, but I mean, I guess also is that like it's a little bit of a different case when you're a heavyweight, perhaps. I mean, like they need heavyweights. They don't necessarily need featherweights, man. Like, I mean, they're plenty well stocked in featherweight. Like, I think that the potential might be there.
American featherweights though.
Perhaps, yeah.
That's
I
why
guess.
they brought Pico over, and now he's a failure. So
Yeah, that is true. Well, I mean, it might be a little bit strong. He got caught, but there might be some more potential for him when he wakes up. Yeah, no, look, okay, maybe I'm dogging on Tavares a little bit too hard here, but either way, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I mean, he was not setting the world on fire to me, even in the Sid fights. I think you for some reason have this really high impression of Sergey City that I just don't share as
he
well.
just came
So
off a win. So
I mean, yeah, that's definitely true. But it's just, I don't know. I just don't think that he's like as much of a killer as you're making him out to be. So that all being said, I'm taking all of those things into factor here when it comes to Tavares, and then going up against Jack Jenkins. Now his strength of record is not great either, but I don't know. I think skill for skill, he might be able to take it. I think Tavares is going to be faster than him, though. I will
I
give him that.
I think what's funny is like, not you in particular. I mean, the first part, yes, like you in particular will tell me like I don't see what you see in Sirius City, but I can go on Twitter right now and there will be a whole slew of people who will tell you Jack Jenkins is one of the most skilled people in the UFC. Like, it's just crazy to hear like how people perceive some of these fighters. Like, I couldn't tell you that I've seen Jack Jenkins do anything that would make me to believe that like this dude's like the baddest motherfucker, or like he's so skilled. He's like he's fine. Like he's like your run of the mill guy. But when I look at Sirius City, what I've seen him do, I'm like, that dude's a kind of a dog. Like
Oh, okay,
he's
fair enough. But you're watching him fight Ramon Tavares here, so I mean,
well,
what do you think about that comparison? And it's like,
it takes two to tango. I mean, he was one half of a performance that I definitely remember as being like highlight of the day. Roman Tavares is not a slouch. He's definitely like a Chris Gutierrez type where he has off days. Like you're just not going to be able to tell if you're going to make money on him or not. But I think he possibly, like you said, he's going to be way faster than him. He's got very slick boxing. He unfortunately relies too much on the fucking Philly shell shit where he gets fucking caught, looking like a dumbass rolling punches, and he's not fast enough to roll them. He's good with punching fast, but defensively gets caught too many times.
yeah.
Jack Jenkins though, who the fuck? He ain't gonna come out here and box nobody's head off. This dude's Tavares is gonna be fine in this one. Chop the legs up. This is the dude that had the hole in his leg, yeah.
No, that's Jack Shore.
Either way, he's going to do exactly what happened to Jack Shore. There's going to be a hole in this dude's leg now. You're going to share that with your fucking Australian mate. Actually, the other dude is
He's
Wales, but
from
either
well,
way.
yeah, exactly. I get where you're getting at. Yeah, look, the potential is there. So I mean, okay, then all of that being said, you think this is going to be a good fight?
I think I agree with Beeb. Why is this fight above Jake and Neil Magny? But,
So there you go. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I mean, like, I don't.
This could be potential fight of the night. Who knows? Who knows?
And we're only looking at it on paper, of course. As I said, all these fights could be a lot better than they seem going into it.
They clearly trust Tavares. Think about that.
Say it again.
They clearly trust Tavares.
Ah.
Because he's that far up on this card. Like they switched it around thinking this is the guy that can bring something to it, in my opinion.
I hope so. I mean, look, it's not like he doesn't go out there and try to win these fights. I think maybe in the Grant fight, he was getting a little bit flustered that because Dave Grant's boxing is really good too. So it's like, I think that maybe it was fire with fire. So it was kind of a little bit overwhelming. And he sort of just over the course of the fight fell behind. Jenkins, maybe not so much in that department. So maybe he's able to be a little bit more in control throughout the entire thing. It's really going to be a toss up for me. I'm staying away from this fight as far as betting goes. I mean, if I, gun to head, you've got a big favorite in Jenkins. I think that an upset by Tavares would be pretty awesome. So maybe Tavares I put on the moon shooter parlay with Neil Magny, maybe, but like I said, I'm as far as like my main parlays go, I'm staying away from this one and I'm hoping for a good fight.
Yeah, definitely a good fight to come for sure.
So you're going with Tavares though?
Yeah.
All right. Final answer for me will be Jack Jenkins on this one.
Hell yeah.
All right, your co-main event, an even weirder one for a co-main, but it is another fan favorite, I guess. It's Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan. This is at light heavyweight. Crute is 13-4, 1-2-2 in his last 5. Good Lord. Win over Marcin Prachnio, losses to Alonzo Menefield and Jamal Hill, draws with Alonzo Menefield and Adolfo Bellato. He retired briefly after the Bellato draw, but he is back and he got the win in his last performance. Happy for him in that. But he is going up against Ivan Erslan, who Not great either. Urslan is 2-3 in his last 5, 0-2 in the UFC. His losses are to Navajo Sterling by unanimous decision and Iwan Kutelaba by split decision.
Believe it or not, I mean, aside from the fact this should not be the co-main, aside from the fact that I could care less about either one of these two, this is kind of banger matchmaking. I think this is really good here. I think these guys kind of they do a little bit of the same thing on the feet, and there might be a little bit of the wrestling versus grappling kind of element here. But I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy. You're probably going to see a split decision because they're going to be boring.
I mean, Crute is the draw master / split decision king. You know what I'm saying? It feels like every fight is just the closest
Yeah.
fight of all time for him for some reason. It's like he's got most of the pieces of the puzzle, but like a couple of them are missing, and it just keeps him out of having the entire image. And it's like I think that they're trying to set him up with a dude who is 0-2 in the UFC. It's like, yeah, another hometown guy, get a nice win in front of the home crowd. It probably is going to be a little bit more competitive than people are thinking, if that's what the thought process is. That being said, yeah, probably Crute by decision some way, somehow. I just think Aslan has not been living up to what was expected of him because he was a champ in another promotion coming into the organization, which is his whole big claim. I remember on commentary, he's coming in with some high credentials, that kind of thing, and has not been living up to that. So I would think that there's probably potential for this to be pretty competitive, maybe clinch heavy, and Crute to be able to eke out the victory some way, somehow.
Yeah, and then he'll be 2-2-2 in his last 6. That actually adds up perfectly. So I think I actually agree with you right there.
You get that on the slot machine and you hit a jackpot.
Bingo. And that means Jimmy Crute is, the lucky 7th ranked guy or something like that. Who knows?
could very well be. Who knows? Light heavyweight needs a little bit of a shakeup, perhaps. But so I think Crute probably ends up taking this. And this, we're talking about Tavares maybe not being on the chopping block. You think that Urslan stays on if he's 0-3?
God, what's funny is you say he's 0-3, but when I look at him, I feel like I don't think if he would be 0-3, I don't feel like I've seen him lose 2 fights in the UFC already. So I feel like he could stay around. I feel like that's what the UFC needs is people who are losing, like that other guy that we just saw that's fighting Malarkey. It's a guy that'll be 0-3, but nobody remembers his loss so many in a row that you can just feed him to somebody and then he'll be out the organization.
Could be. I mean, I forgot to mention he is 14-5 in total. So I mean, he does have a decent amount of wins on his record to begin with. It's not like he's coming in and just completely bombing out with nothing to show for it beforehand. He's got a good pedigree outside of the organization. He's just been having a bit of trouble getting his footing in the organization. What gives me pause is the loss to Navajo Sterling, though, because like I said, I mean, this I believe is another fight that I saw. A lot of these guys were on the Tampa card for some reason, mirroring that. But this was one that I saw live, and it was right, yeah, right. I think that was that one.
Yeah.
Or no, that was the Tokos one, right? Anyway, whatever. The point is that losing to Navajo Sterling, based on what we've seen out of him, is not great right now. Navajo Sterling is, like we had just said, a dude who, he's technically proficient to an extent, but he's not super exciting. And he has a game plan that I think you should be able to get around, especially as a newer guy. Somebody needs to be able to beat this guy. Like, come on, this guy can't be having that kind of style and going all the way to the top with it. So I just don't think it's going to be I don't think that Urslan not being able to do it against Navajo Sterling, I don't think that he's going to be able to do it against Crute either.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So yeah, if he stays around, maybe. I mean, the Iwan Kutelaba fight was certainly interesting. It was a lot of very barroom brawly kind of craziness going on in that fight. So maybe the entertainment factor is more there for Aslan, and that's why he stays. But if he's 0-3, he's definitely in jeopardy at that point.
Definitely in jeopardy.
Yeah, so I'm going with Jimmy Crute on this one, and we'll see what happens with Aslan. If he can get the win in this one, then that would change a lot of things for him, though.
Yeah, but I don't see him beating Jimmy Crute because they love to just give you Jimmy Crute bullshit. I mean, seems to be,
It's
you
all
know.
they can do, though. And this is what goes back to the conversation earlier about why this card is so heavy with local fighters in general. You have a big audience in Australia and New Zealand. You have fighters out of both of those countries. You want to be able to give them people who they can have good performances against. I mean, not even matchmaking aside, like Jimmy Crute has shown that if the fight gets too hard, he's going to go to draw. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, what are they supposed to do? If you want to get a guy who's going to be in your co-main event to get something that's going to be entertaining to the crowd, you kind of got to feed him some bullshit.
Right. I hear you.
Sad to say. I mean, like, and that's why Jimmy Crute's ceiling is very low. Sadly, it's just it sucks. When he retired, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, that might be the right way to go. He's back now, got to win. We'll see if something changed, but right now it's a little still dicey even with the win.
Yeah, he came back, and now you're like, well, fuck. I mean, he should have just stayed retired. But whatever, we'll see if he wins.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe this one will be the thing that changes our opinions 100%. Because Pragnio, that was a fine win. It's nothing wrong with that win, but and he did do it in pretty emphatic fashion. But I just, you can't. It doesn't erase all the rest of the history.
True.
So. All right, and to round out this card, the main event of the evening is Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes at light heavyweight. Ulberg is 13-1, 5-0 in his last 5. His wins are over Jan Blachowicz, Volkan Oezdemir, Alonzo Menefield, Dawoon Jung, and Ihor Potieria. His only loss was to Kennedy and Chezuku in 2021. 7 wins by knockout for Carlos Ulberg. Reyes is 15-4, 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Nikita Krylov, Anthony Smith, and Dustin Jacoby. Losses to Ryan Spann and Yuri Prohashka. His losses were a 4-fight skid, all after the John Jones loss. So John Jones included in that four fights in a row was the skid. Continuing on through Jan Blachowicz into the other 2, he had a perfect 12-win streak at the start of his career up into that point of the John Jones fight.
This one is really easy to me. I don't think I need any of the information or the statistics or the resumes. Carlos Ulberg is from the city kickboxing gym. He trains with Israel Adesanya. He trains with Navajo Sterling. All these point fighting. Volkanovski's another one. All these point fighting. Outside range fighters and Ulberg, sad to say, I mean, he's one of the best at it. I mean, he took a loss earlier in his career. I've seen this dude get knocked out by Kennedy. Excuse me, I'm racist. And Kennedy, flatlined this dude or whatever the hell it was. And Carlos, has built a win streak beyond that point. So he was able to make the adjustments. Get right where in the mindset is if I don't get hit, then I can't get knocked out. Now he just doesn't get hit at all, evades all type of conflict. Alonzo Menefield, now we actually called him really stupid for them he walked in there in the first 12 seconds and just charged across the cage and just tried to get into a gunfight with him. And we thought that was a really stupid idea at the time. But looking back, I mean, honestly, I kind of respect it. He was not going to let him do 15 minutes of fucking prancing around. Hey, listen, Alonzo Menefield, if you're listening right now, dude, good idea. I'm with it. I mean, balls to the wall. That's the only way you were going to draw him out. And he got the better of you. I mean, he's a striker. He's got a puncher's chance. You tested his ability and, you ended up losing, but will he take that risk? Will Dominic Reyes put him in that situation? I don't think so. I think he's just going to point strike for a decision.
Well, what I think, at least based on what we have seen out of Reyes recently, and Reyes is a tough call here, man, because with the skid really does change the perception. You go on a 4-fight losing streak like that after the John Jones fight, like it alters the way that you think about things. But what he said when he came back kind of did stick with me. When he finally got the wins going again, he said, I'm not back, I'm better. And I'm like, maybe there's something to that. Now, I mean, granted, the wins that he has gotten since coming back, since being in the win column,
A
not
little
necessarily.
handpicked.
Yeah, slightly, I would say. I mean, and guys who have now, Smith retired, Nikita Krylov also on a pretty bad losing streak himself now. Um, I think that the difference and why I'm going to go with Dominic Reyes in this fight is that I believe, based on literally what you said about, I'm glad you said that about Alonzo Menafield, because I think that what Reyes brings to the table is that he is going to have the hunt down mentality like Menafield had, but he's going to be more measured with it, so that if he tries to stay on the outside, he moves with it. Like, it's the conversation you and I always have about, when people are quote unquote running, and I'm like, well, it's like if they're on the outside, it's the other person is, yeah, right. I mean, but there you go, right? So I mean, you're saying that
You're gonna
Ulberg is,
see it this
so,
Saturday, dude. I'm
and so
telling you, this
if
is gonna be
and if
fucking.
that's the case, if that is going to be the case here, I think that Reyes is the type of guy that's going to go and actually get him, and that is his job to do that. So that is what he needs to do to win this fight. I think that Reyes is going to be able to do it based on what we've been seeing recently. Ulberg is pretty damn good though with his style. Even if you don't like it, he does get the win. So this is going to be a close one, another one that I'm probably not going to bet on. But I'm hoping for Dominic Reyes to be able to go out there and continue the streak, showing that he's exactly that. Not back. He is better.
In your scenario, for Dominic Reyes to go out there and charge him down, over the course of 5 rounds, that is the scenario that he gets slept. I'm just letting you know. His chin is still not going to be, what it once was. If it was ever that good, I don't know. I wasn't here for, but all I know is he's gotten slept like 4 times in a row, and then he got cherry picked opponents that weren't necessarily people that were going to put him on his ass as well. So I
Yeah.
think it's interesting.
No, I mean, I like but what I'm saying about it though is that, like, I feel like he is going, like he's going to go in there with an approach to get the strikes. If Ulberg is backing up, if Ulberg is getting out of the way and trying to point fight, that he goes in deeper with still a measured approach enough to keep himself protected is what I'm thinking and envisioning for this.
I think it's Ulberg all the way. I'm taking him.
All right. I mean, he is a pretty heavy favorite in this fight. He is a minus 260 versus Reyes's plus 210. So risky business for me taking the dog here. But I feel like Dominic Reyes. I don't want to discount all of what he did leading up to the skid. The skid is what it is, and I understand it coloring the opinions because it certainly colors mine as well. These opponents that he has had after the skid, I'm making the case on the other side of this argument. I understand that. I want to believe that if he taps into the natural abilities that he does have and has a mindset that is a winner's mindset, which it seems like he's gotten based on the confidence that he's gaining from these most recent wins, that he's able to navigate this fight effectively and somehow gets, that he is able to put Ulberg down. I mean, like, that's really, I think, what it comes down to is just getting your hands on Carlos Ulberg, because a lot of times we've seen exactly what you're talking about, him on the outside, him not engaging, and baiting traps, basically, just trying to be like, okay, I'm going to stay on the outside until you feel confident enough to come in, and then I'm going to bomb you. And that has worked for him, but I think that Reyes could be wise to that. He should be wise to that, considering the fights that he's had already. Some of those other guys do the exact same thing. Yuri is a great example of that. A dude who maybe not on the outside as much, but a guy who will definitely set you up to trap you. So I mean, like, he's got to be wise to some of the things that Ulberg is bringing to the table. I want to believe that he comes into this thing knowing what to expect and planning accordingly.
This one's going to be interesting. I'll definitely tell you that. Both at 6'4", 34, 35 ages with 77-inch reach, and we got Orthodox and Southpaw, opposite stance. Interesting fight, I'll tell you that. I'm really excited to see it, even though I know this is probably going to be one of the most boring matchups in Dominic Reyes' career, let alone the most boring main event of this year currently. So
I mean, unless Ulberg ends up knocking him out, maybe,
I
checks his chin.
I think he probably will. If it's going to be a good night, that's what's happening. So
All right. Well, we will find out together this Saturday, of course. That is UFC Fight Night, Ulberg versus Reyes. This thing is on the U.S. schedule, as you kind of alluded to there. So 7 p.m. start time for the prelims. Of course, we will be watching on our individual watch-alongs. You can find me at youtube.com/@YamaShow for that. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
you guys can always find me watching watching UFC streams on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And of course, on Fridays, if you didn't know, starting a couple weeks from now, one every Friday morning. Make sure to come by and watch that with me.
I love it. I love it. It's a great way to get up early. You get your Friday started and you get some fights early in the morning. It's a great way to start your day on a Friday going into the weekend. So definitely hang out with Chase for those one streams. I'm going to be trying to check out more of those myself when I have the ability to. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Yama Show, and also on Facebook now at Yama Show as well. We've got it back finally, people. If you've been listening to this show, you know the struggles that I have had with Facebook. They finally relented. We are at Yama Show on Facebook as well. So make sure that you like that page. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on Twitter as well for clips from the show and all kinds of other good stuff. We will see you on Saturday for the watch alongs. Until then, have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.